Oh wow, that's pretty loud. All right. Hello everybody, we should be live now. Let me... Oh. I need to pull latest so that I've got the latest assets and everything in the editor. So I'm going to do that behind the scenes real quick. Discard my changes. I don't know why it always thinks I made changes. I didn't. And I'm going to pull these 7 updates. I was mainly in documentation, doing a little bit of writing and stuff this morning, so I have not pulled anything. While I'm waiting on that, and while I'm waiting on you, those of you that are coming in, I'm not waiting on you if you're watching the VOD. If you are watching the VOD, thank you for checking this out. If it's your first time, skip around, check out some of the other VODs, check out VODs from the various other team members as well. You can get to see some character art, environment art, concept art, stuff like that being created. Yeah, if you end up enjoying this, once it gets started, I know all of these uncut VODs take forever to get started, apologies. But once it gets started, if you like what you see, be sure to give us a subscribe on YouTube, if that's where you're watching. I'm assuming you're watching it there. And yeah, that'd be cool. That'll help us out. So, all right. I've pulled latest. That actually was a lot quicker than expected. Man, getting the lighting in here bright today is a little weird because... Is that better? Let's see. Nah, we'll keep it kind of dark. It'll be fine. Because it's actually sunny out today, which is weird. So... I had the blinds partially open behind me and it was just blowing things out. It's very unusual for Germany, well, where I'm at in Germany this time of year to be ultra sunny. Well, actually that's a lie. I think I just read that it's sunnier during the winter, fall and winter, than it is during the summer. We go from having 75% cloudy days to 65. Yeah. Hey, Pettis. I'll wait to open that for a minute or two. All right. So I've grabbed latest. Dark Inside said, hello, good morning. I was just reading a story about David Fay, who made EQ very difficult for the devs in 2000. Yeah, I was looking at that as well. Nick had, Nick shared that with us in our Slack as well. I mean... It's interesting because that description of like making life difficult for the devs is just kind of it's par for the course. So hey Cotswold. And it actually it kind of segues to a topic that I want to hit today. Once folks get in here this morning, I may switch over to this. So, I have to see, while we're waiting for people to come in, maybe I can check and see if there is a scene that I've already got set up that makes it easier to... Did I just break something? There's a super pause and like an error sound on my end. Hey, obvious. So I've got to see, is it chatting that might be better for this? I've got a scene somewhere that it's probably better to employ for watching and discussing a video. Impin, what's up? So if the chatting scene isn't already set up for this, then we may do that today as part of this. It turns off the event list. It doesn't seem to have the cool... Doesn't have the cool chat at the bottom, but it should have its own chat. You guys say something so I can see if the chat pops up. Anything. I know there's a delay. Okay. So I tell you what, while we're still getting warmed up, let me go ahead and transition to the scene really quick. Make it big enough to see if I can fix it up a little bit so that it works a little bit better for when we watch this later. All right, so I can't edit that. Chat box, unlock it, make it a bit bigger, I guess. Put it over here. Though I thought, let me switch scenes again. I thought we had actually set this up in the current setup as well. Go to development, transition. I don't know, man. I might just leave you guys down at the bottom scrolling. I think it's the best way to do it. Retro MMO, how are you doing today? Have I thanked you for exactly, Frulu? You just did what I was thinking of. I was about to say, have I thanked you for the badass emotes? I think I use that heart emote on Discord more than most things in the world. Frulu, thank you for the follow. Crimson, Mana, thank you for the follow. G Fuel and Math. What is your favorite G Fuel? My dear friend Hashpipe got me really into Bahama Mama. I think it was Bahama Mama. It tastes kind of like incense. But yeah, retro, that retro heart. I think if you go to our Discord, which those of you that are new here, we're still getting set up today. Those of you that are new here can find our Discord here. If you don't know what it is that we are working on, it is Monsters and Memories. Belfaster, thank you for 11 months and good morning. You like all the pineapple flavors? Your favorite is Tiny Tina's? I may have to check that out. Incest or incense? Incense. I did spend my high school years in Southeast Alabama, but I don't have any siblings. Battlefield is another favorite. We have to check those out. I do think that pineapple conveys very well. So when you guys rolled in, I was basically looking at, we don't do it often, but there is a video that I watched like yesterday that I feel like would be a good one for us to discuss. It's MMORPG related and design related and industry related. And on occasion, we will sit and sort of run through a video and talk about it. I don't like to call it a react because I feel like react has like connotations that I can't pull off. Like I'm not going to be like reacting. I'm just going to probably ramble a lot. But I think there's some stuff that's pertinent to what we've been talking about here. So react Andy over here. Exactly. Yeah. So that'll probably happen today. And while we're waiting on folks, we will... Oh yeah, I forgot that I just got latest. We will be up in Unity. Yeah. I can't do that face though, Crimson. Aria JP, is that Aria Japan? Or is it just Aria with a random J and a P at the end? Chad Solo, thank you for the follow. Aria, thank you for the follow. Yep, Japan. Cool. Bitagana. Are you from Japan? Are you just in Japan? Are you both? And you're speaking German, so you're throwing me. Did Ishiwatari send you? Wo ist Ishiwatari? Arbeitet noch oder live in Japan? Word. Oh, yeah. All right. So while I'm waiting on people to roll in today, well, not that you're not people, and thank you for rolling in such a timely manner. I'm going to see whether or not the stuff I put in yesterday is broken. Wahrscheinlich arbeitet noch. Es ist erst 21 Uhr. How does one roll correctly? I guess anything but a 1, right? Is a correct roll. You want to avoid... You want to roll the biggest number possible. I don't know much about tabletopping, but I think that's accurate. Dragon Muffin, thank you for the follow. Justin said, I took several years of German in high school. All I remember is Guten Tag. That's all you need. Just keep repeating that, kind of like a strange American German-speaking Hodor. If you want to get back at your teammates, a 1 is perfect. All right. Is it Namarunya? I'll always try to pronounce things in an exotic manner when I first hear your name. That sounds good. Keith, who does the wonderful Mandrake Farms edits, told me when I read out your comments, I should slow down because I get a little mush mouth and people want to hear what you got to say. Probably. I would hope so. I mean, I keep reading it out. Tarnkappen Bonbon. Hello. Eminem, expansion name Revenge of the Gnomes. I mean, it's possible. We're going to have a lot of weird little update names and stuff. We were just talking about a crazy one over the weekend. We were talking about a crazy one. It's funny, we come up with these ideas, and so going to already build a list of updates that we want to do. But that's good because then we can also cluster some things and be like, oh, well, we want to make these types of creatures, but we don't want to kind of do them haphazard. So what if we clustered them and we had this update in this region, blah, blah, blah. So what is the game all about? The game is all about exploring our world, which it's funny, we've yet to tell you the name of. Exploring our world with your friends, being social. It's about reliving the experience that a lot of us had when we were first engaging with MMOs in the 99, early 2000 era, where the design was slightly different, which again is part of the topic of this video here. They actually get into some of those differences again. And it'll be fun to talk about because it talks about when will the MMORPG glory days return? Not Norath. That is close to the name. All right, so I need to make I'm going to make a new character really quick. Maybe it'll be an ogre because nope, it will be a human. I forgot about our. What is, huh? I'm gonna have to talk to Keith. Why does human have druid blacked out? That's not accurate, Keith. Thoran? No. Archer. Let's just give this guy some hair and call it a day. That way I don't have to look at the weird skin mohawk we have at on the back of his head. Hair. There we go. Great character. You're just gonna get deleted anyways, buddy. We're gonna pause this music so that we can hear our own. Oh, you know what? I kind of want to go back and give you the full experience if you haven't been here before. So we're going to go back real quick. I'm going to change my settings. Whoop, no, mixer here. We're going to increase this a little bit. We're going to hit play so you can hear all the music. Alex Simi, good morning or evening. We'll go full screen. G Fuel and Math asked, how long have you been working on this to get it to this point? Sorry, you're new here. First of all, you don't have to apologize for being new, ever. The people that have been here for a while have heard me say a lot of this stuff. A lot. I repeat myself a ton, and they're used to it, and they're still here, so that's fine. We officially consider September kind of our anniversary point. And when I say anniversary, when we do I want to put together a little retrospective for the last 2 years. So the short answer is 2 years. But you got to realize the first year, this time in 2020, it was basically us talking in Discord direct messages and still sort of putting together the first team of 4 people. The first year was basically 4 people, with, you know, some people coming in and out off and on, but 4 or 5. And then around this time last year, we put out the call for more people. And that's when we added programmers and artists and other folks. We're currently sitting at 11 or 12 people. I should actually count at some point. And yeah, so it's been a busy year. So when you see everything in game, keep in mind that a lot of that came online in the last year. Alex Simi said, "Holy, you were producer of Wizard 101. I played the hell out of that game when I was a kid." Impin, he's a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal. No, I'm really not. So to clarify that, I was actually hired for a third game that the internet has figured out what it is. I don't know that I can confirm what it was, but I was hired for a third 101 game to be the producer of it, but they needed to finish Pirate 101 first. So I helped as a designer and a producer. I helped the existing designers and producers on Wizard 101. I did a lot of work on Zafaria. I helped as a designer and a producer on Pirate 101. And then the third game, we had a really great prototype for. And then it kind of just got shelved when Todd left the company. And then the company decided they wanted to make mobile games. And then I left the company. So, Wizard 103 was not the game. I'll give you a hint. I had just finished my time on DC Universe Online, and they felt that my experience on DC Universe Online would be helpful for the third game. They didn't even tell me what the third game was going to be until I got the job. Wizard 404? Closer? I don't know. Tarnkappen Bonbon, thank you for the follow. Alex, thank you for the follow. All right, so just made a new character. See, you guys, you may be onto something in there. I think you're warm. Targeted shot, strike, and throw. Those are my abilities as an archer. Memorizing targeted shot. Let's see how many bugs I introduced when making this quest. I think the game that we were working on would have been very popular, and it would have done well financially because it was Wizard 101, I think, did a much better job of creating how do I say this? Wizard 101 was set up to really well to generate money, whether you like it from an ethical standpoint or not. It was very well designed for that. And then Pirate 101, not so much. So the other game would have been more in the vein of Wizard 101, but also the way that the cards played, and you saw the badass ability that happened at the center of the combat circle. That would have been really cool for the kind of theme that we're working on. You like the old school art style of this MMO? Well, thank you. Those of you that are new here, if you go to the website, one of the easiest ways to get an overview of tons of concept art and video clips and just everything, illustrations, go to the updates part of the website, look at the updates. Abyssus, thank you for the follow, and you're absolutely correct. And I'll put throw in here, though I'll probably not wind up using throw because I don't start with any. I've got a bow. I don't need to throw anything. All right, so book is done here. Oh, For those of you that have been watching for a while, look, we don't start in our underwear anymore. I'm throwing arrows with the bow. And you're catching arrows with your chest. Would you use AI to generate assets? I would say it's possible. I don't know. I don't know that it's going to happen on this game. I do think that in the future it's going to be a hell of a lot more common. All right, so take this note to Fidemia Steel, the third in the Night Harbor Garrison, to begin your training. Okay, I'm going to do that. We've got some very simple quests in at the moment. I'm barefooted, but at least I have pants now. I'm cheating because I know where the garrison is. In theory, I could ask a guard. But we haven't fixed the system yet. Hail. Where is the garrison? The garrison can be found not too far to the west of here. That is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. That's north. West would be here. He'd basically just be sending me to my death. Thanks, guard Adnan. Adnan. So at the end of the video that we're going to watch, they talk a little bit about that in terms of AI generating stuff. Most guards are trolls. I mean, when we make the system a little bit more sophisticated later, it could be that there are some guards that just lie to you. They just don't like you. Yeah, so again, those of you that are new here, all of our quest system, we don't have a quest journal. We don't have a quest tracker. The quests, essentially you learn about quests by talking to NPCs. You work your way through quests by talking to NPCs, etc. Artificial Guy said, "Are you a full-time indie dev?" I am. I am a full-time indie dev. I have gone from being a full-time dev to being indie, I guess. Was it possible to chat with NPCs like this in old RPGs? Yes. The first MMORPG I worked on, called EverQuest, that was the way that you communicated with NPCs. Yeah, so I do want to give most NPCs, you know, something. Like if I hail this guy, you know, he does respond. If you see the different colors in the text, it's because some of them are emotes, and some of them are him speaking, right? And so the way that you do a quest in this old style of game is you hand the NPC the item the same way you would hand another player an item. So you interact with the NPCs very much the same way you would interact with players. You trade them, or you give them stuff. You talk to them. Let's see. I'm probably missing stuff because you guys are being nice and talkative. Thank you for that. So if I miss anything, it's not because I'm ignoring it. If you feel it's important, just repeat it and I'll try to catch it. Artificial Guy asks, "It's awesome. May I ask how you generate money to pay the bills?" So what I'm doing right now is I'm working while my wife works. She's a dental surgeon here in town. So when I was in Sweden before here. She moved over and spent a year and a half with me going to school. I worked. She went to school. She took care of the house. Well, I mean, I still did the bulk of the shopping and cooking because I like to do it. Then we moved to Germany. She's working. I'm spending some of the cash that I've just saved up over the years, and I'm taking care of the house and working on this, and I'm still shopping and cooking. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to having a budget and looking and going, all right, do we have the means to be able to survive, or in this case, even save while doing this? Yes. Okay, cool. This is what I'm going to try to pursue. And yeah, it worked out really well. So very grateful to my wife for that. For the rest of the folks on the team, everybody is donating their time. So that's basically the game changer for us, is everybody is doing this on their spare time. And it's been huge for us, and that's why we've been able to make really amazing progress while not spending a ton. Over the last 2 years, we've spent about $20,000, with the bulk of that being spent on, before we got the artists, we contracted artists to get some of our initial assets in place. We've paid a decent amount for lawyers, so setting up the company, registering trademarks, stuff like that. So, and then we've got our monthly costs. So a little bit of contract work that we pay monthly, and a little bit of paying for services and licenses and things of that nature. We're a team of, I feel bad because I don't know the exact number now because we've had a couple people join. We're a team of 11 or 12. Let me look. I can just look at Slack. I think I can just look at Slack. Yeah, so we're a team of 12 people total. G Fuel said, I started playing EverQuest in 99 and have played that probably more than any other game. I still log in occasionally to this day to play with my wife. Maybe I'll even get the chance to play with my kid soon. Yeah, that's amazing. How old's your kid? Artificial guy, thank you for the follow. All right, so let me clean up my inventory a little bit, and I'll hand in this note and see if it works. All right, this first piece worked. We'll look at the timing. Timing on the dialogue's not horrible. All right, so he says what he says. Emotes seem good. Oop, that squint looks like there's a space in front of it that doesn't need to be there. I just restarted my machine. So let me open our database real quick so I can fix some things as I go. He's 13? Oh yeah, then that's totally a possibility. If I had EverQuest when I was 13, holy goodness. Yeah, holy shit. I would have been so preoccupied. I only had Bard's Tales and Wizardry and all that type of stuff when I was 13. Ultimas. Button Bud said, sorry if you explained it already, but what is this MMO trying to do that others haven't? So the first thing that we're trying to do is live within our means. We're making a game that's very focused. It's a very niche game. We don't expect everybody to want to play this. We don't expect the majority of MMO players out there today to want to play this. But we do expect that there is an audience that does want to play this. And it's sizable enough to essentially help us meet our projections and run a small profitable company with our first game of several. And so that's our first goal, is basically to make a game that we know is focused on a very specific niche and cater to them, not try to get everybody. And then if we're correct in our projections, have that sustain us, and then we grow from there. What is that game that's different? Or how is this game different than others? Well, we're going back and we're looking at some of the design decisions that made older MMOs inherently a lot more social. Some of that has to do with pacing and the nature of gameplay. Pacing both moment to moment, like how active is combat, how active is your rotation, is there even really a rotation, or is it more you've got some abilities on hand and really you're thinking more tactically while still keeping what a light rotation, I guess. The other thing is looking at sort of pacing outside of the absolute moment to moment. It's like the idea of instead of moving through a dungeon, we're fine with the old school way of camping items, sitting. There's grinding. We're not trying to make the grind just ridiculous and horrible and all of that. But for a lot of us, what we found fun was getting in a group or finding a spot in a group, making your way to a place where they're camping that item, farming quest materials, right? Like doing your own sort of camp or whatever. And having a pace of combat that allows us to feel both competent and like we're learning and progressing as players, but also not have it be just so over the top, demanding, where everybody's looking at your parses and you're getting kicked out of the group if you're like, none of that shit, right? So anyway, what we plan on doing is instead of reinventing the wheels and making all these systems and features that are very different and new and exclusive to us, we're going back and looking at a lot of the old systems like factions and the way that quests work and the way that camps worked and trade skills and we're just taking those ideas that we already are super familiar with and we're making them deeper. So giving you more opportunity to grind different factions, turning things like religion into a faction setup even, you know what I mean? So giving you a lot of autonomy, giving you the ability to, over time, faction up with maybe factions you didn't expect to be able to align with, discovering new ones. Some of those factions may be monsters. Why are you typing in all caps, Dark Inside? Is your menu game idea the bricks one in Discord? Is that what you're talking about? Anyway, so we're just trying to take the stuff that we liked in 1999 and go deeper with it, provide some improvements in terms of quality of life, but actually leaning into some of the stuff that was, some of the things like corpse recovery. There'll be aspects of it that's even more difficult than it was in 99. Some of the stuff like, shit, now I'm drawing a blank. We were just talking about this in Discord. Hop into our Discord. All the way down to things like organizing your spell book. I understand, we were talking about this in Discord earlier. I understand the desire to make everything as convenient and easy to do as possible, but so much of that just chips away at the experience. So no hand holding. Yeah, well, you're in the right place. So as I said, we're doing a quest. The quest basically entailed me giving the dude this note. He said, all right, well, take it down to the person that's actually going to be your trainer. You'll find them below, right? And there's no yellow arrow. There's no glowy trail. There's nothing. I don't have a quest journal. If I want to remember I'm on a quest, I should probably write this shit down. And you see everything in here is text, right? So there is no hand holding. We are using Unity. Button buds. What is the game? The game is Monsters and Memories. There's a website, Shapestar. Mascas said, I forgot whether I've asked this before, but will items be able to be dropped on, picked up from the floor like EQ? It's a feature that does a lot for me in terms of making the world familiar. Yeah, we already do it. So here, I don't think I'm supposed to be able to drop this but I can. So there it is. It is a cool little bag on the floor. And let me pick it back up before someone steals it. Cool. Kind of like these items. They should be no drop, but because they're your starter stuff. But they're not. And we may find that we don't need to make them no drop as we go. Let's see. Yeah, this guy is the next guy I need to talk to on my quest, but there's really no way of knowing that unless you pay attention. Todd Makes Games says just be sure to have an ISO cam mode so we can relive UO. Don't tempt Ollie. Ollie's a big UO fan. Dark Inside, I asked you a question. You sent it in chat like 10 minutes ago. I can't scroll up 10 minutes worth of scrolling, buddy. You got to resend it. Don't cry. Big Matt G said used to raid on any back in 99-2000, was in the top was the top warrior there through planes. Oh, badass. I started on Inneruk and then transferred to 7th Hammer when I got on the design team to play with one of my coworkers. OMG, sleep good. Thanks for stopping by. Are you writing the networking code with security anti-cheat in mind from the beginning? Yes, Artificial. And if you want to know more about that, you can hit Ollie up in Discord. It's funny. We were just showing off our network code. Well, I wasn't. I missed the meeting, but Ollie was showing it off to some folks yesterday. I think it's okay for me to say where they're from. You know what? I'll skip it. From a game engine company. And they were actually really impressed by it. Do we have a demonstration? Where was that posted? Here, I'll find you. Maybe I can find it if it's not too far back. We just ran, at the end of a stream the other day, we just ran a great test. Here we go. Ran a great test to try to push our networking code. And believe it or not, after this test, Ollie found some stuff to make it even more efficient. Crimson, we're basically, we started with ML API and now we're using LightNet lib, and it's all written specifically for us by us. So this was before optimization the other day. So I mean, you never know. We may find and it's funny if you listen to it. You can't hear it here. You can hear all of the NPCs whacking on them. Big Matt said guild was Ashen Vendetta. Yes, but we co-raid with the Pantheon. There, Scott Hartzman was in... I can't remember if he's in AV or in Pantheon. If you guys are EQ fans and you haven't seen them, I did about 60 hours worth of interviews with former EverQuest designers and programmers and other folks. If you click that link, it'll take you to the Loving Robot YouTube. And you'll see all of the different interviews there. So if you're history nerds, if you love EverQuest, that should hook you up. All right, the Ashira Scouts. The Ashira Scouts roaming outside the Ashira have scouts roaming outside the gates. I can't read this, and I wrote it. Why am I so bad at reading and streaming? Watched almost all the vlogs for your EQ game review for class. Had way too much info for a 15-minute talk. Thanks for doing those. You're very welcome, Unfiltered. You guys spawn zone instances and Docker containers. Big Matt, I understand the words. I recognize the words. I have a wonderful friend in Ollie and Gary and John and Keith to communicate on that topic with you. I'm just the front man. I don't know any of this shit. Damn it. I'm going to scroll up this time. Okay, Dark Inside said, I would love to see a mini game of ogres throwing gnomes in a giant field, kind of like curling, but instead you have to throw a gnome at the red target on the ground, which has points like a dartboard. Dark Inside, all of that moaning and hysterics was for me to read about your gnome abuse minigame. When this game launches, you should host an old school forum that's like just like Alakazam. When this game launches, I would love to basically just see if the Alakazam folks would make a website for us. Your character looks like he has back sweat. Oh crap. Yeah, that's our dynamic sweat system. Dark is really committing to the gnome jokes. Well, damn, am I OP? Archer's kind of OP. Oh. He just ran by, stabbed him. Well then. So somebody earlier, I didn't respond yet, I apologize. Somebody earlier asked if we have combat in. Yeah, we've got combat in, we've got player trading, we've got banking, we've got merchants. We've got most of the core systems you would expect to see in an MMO. In our MMO already. Can this dynamic sweat system be connected to a haptic suit? That is a key feature. Todd makes games. Did I thank you for the follow? I might have missed it. He's so powerful he doesn't even need a bow. Yeah, I'm a master of the bow, and I just knifed the crap out of that jackal pup. Wait, so this will be a new MMO release post 2020 where we can trade? I don't believe it. I'm hyped. Zabacraft said. Yeah. Trading is a lot less problematic for us because of the fact that we're not free to play and don't have a cash shop. It will be subscription based. Just pretty straightforward, subscription based. Old school MMO like this would be amazing where you have to sit on the ground to meditate and stuff. Just getting up and down that much will be a workout. You hope there's a several hour long option to learn the Ashiran language and befriend the Ashira scouts for their necklaces. I wouldn't put it past us. Oh, interesting. Did I not see the loot window in either one of these? Zabba said, OMG, I'm gonna lose it. Take my money, I'm dragging all my 2 friends in. Hopefully one person will stick. Hey. If we get you and at least one of your friends, I call that a success. So we just added a dedicated animator to the team, what, a couple weeks ago? Oops, I should probably hit auto attack. So we'll be continuing to clean some of these up, and like right now that bow shot is still using a old casting animation, stuff like that, so we'll get it fixed. Adichie, hello. Pay to win is the most terrible thing to happen in games, to be honest. I get the allure, but it's just so unseemly. I look at it like this, because, I mean, I worked at a company where I was working on a free-to-play game that had a history of being pay to win, and we were trying to revive its reputation. Ah, there it is. Like, where's my loot window? And anyway, the thing I look at like this, if people didn't want the game, there wouldn't be people in the game. So I think it's fine for those people to pay, play, do whatever they want. It's just not the game for me. Doing good, Adichie. How are you? Jisbel said, Brad's untimely death and potentially Pantheon never seeing the light of day breaks your heart. I think Pantheon is on a good track now. I think Pantheon's going to be fun. Let's see. Patty said, LOL, my students years ago made a gnome lawn darts phone app that was basically that, but with Pokemon Go, like throwing mechanics. Fun. Rodsack said Pantheon will be fine based on what? I would say based on the fact that I've spent hours talking with Chris, and he's a really sharp guy. And he's dedicated a shitload of his life to helping make that game a possibility. It looks like they've got momentum. If you watch their various developer diaries, etc. Nothing they're saying sounds that crazy to me. They've expanded their team, they've gotten additional funding, and they seem to have momentum on a consistent, at this point, in single direction. So that's my thought. I think they've got every opportunity to succeed as any other game that's being developed out there. But what about all the years that it's taken? That's not the question. You know what I mean? We're talking about how are they going to move forward. So, yeah. Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. And the thing is, I wouldn't bullshit you. There's zero... If anything, we're working on a game that's an old school MMO. I've got like every incentive to be... you know, if I was just trying to like get internet clout or, you know, try to take like a zero-sum approach to development or, you know, wanted to self-promote or whatever, it'd be easy for me because I didn't know Chris before I started working on this game. It'd be easy for me to just be, oh yeah, man, and hop in with sort of the various like negative sentiments and stuff. But like I said, I met Chris, never in person, but I haven't met anybody on our team in person either. But I've talked to Chris a fair bit. Really have grown to like and respect him. I understand at least one version of the history of that game. It kind of, you know, a lot of it jives with my understanding of different things as well. And I think, yeah, I think good for them, and I wish them the best, and I definitely wish anybody that's invested years of their life on making a product all the luck in the world of like having that product see the light of day and do at a minimum, you know, as well enough as needed to kind of allow them to keep growing and working on it. So hopefully that makes sense. After writing a $150 check, I'm hopeful too. Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, man. Like Kickstart games, when folks are like, "Hey, when can we give you money?" When we're like, we just want to wait until we've got the game to a point where essentially we're looking at how do we grow the content or how do we expand what's basically a proven concept after the proof of concept. You know, part of it is just it's the way we all on a team believe, but the other part too is like once you start taking money, that it changes the dynamic with expectations in the community and stuff. So I think it's already a big enough deal that you guys are willing to give us your time and check out the streams and hang out with us and be a part of our community. It'd be positive and stuff. So beyond that, it's kind of a big ask. I mean, I own a $40 spaceship and Star Citizen. I get it. Oops. You love Star Citizen? Yeah, I haven't tried it again in 2 years, but like 2 years ago I played it with somebody I met while playing Escape from Tarkov. And you know, hopefully it's better now. I was just shocked at sort of the content when I went in or lack thereof, and that was 2 years ago, so I was You fly an F-25A? Cool. I will say that I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool. How's Escape from Tarkov, by the way? It is, I haven't played in forever, but the last time I played, it was great. It's scary. It's kind of brutal. But when you actually survive or do well, then it's very satisfying. So, button buds, I say it like this. If you're somebody that's actively engaging in Star Citizen and you're enjoying yourself, awesome. I think that's great. I have got, I've got no dog in that fight, I guess. Unfiltered Stallion said, way less worrisome if you have a $70 gym membership you don't use. Watching your vlogs changed my appreciation of game dev as a whole. First part, I'm going to need you to help me clarify. Or help clarify. But the second part, well, thank you. Oh. All right. Thanks, Patrolman. Oh, when you give to a Kickstarter. Yeah, I mean, that's... At the end of the day, anytime I've given money to a Kickstarter, it's just because I was like, this seems like a pretty cool idea. I would love to see it come to fruition. I don't know that it will. I think I've probably given more money to Kickstarters that have actually succeeded than not. And even then, several of those I was just like, I never got around to playing. Shit came up. You know what I mean? Like, so it's mainly because I'm like, oh, I want to see these people succeed. Hey, Nicodemus. So I'm just grinding a little bit. Maybe it's unnecessary. Let me try a scout and see how tough they are. I was just trying to grind to level 2 to make sure that this is fairly easy. Ashira Scouts is a yellow con, so... You would likely be defeated in battle. Well, let's see about that. Button says... Right now I do game dev for a big research company. I also work on my own game for fun and have an MMO project on the horizon. Oh, nice. You'll have to tell us about it when it's at a point where you feel comfortable with that. Our Discord, and especially like the channel Discord, but both Discords are pretty cool with, you know, if you want to come in and talk about your stuff or whatever. Please don't feel like you got to worry about... Okay, a Sheer Scout is whipping my ass already. Oh, thank you for the heal. Thank you for the buff. I'm still getting my ass whipped. Yeah, they're on me, so I can't... I've got the feeling Glario over here is out of mana. Button says, I want to return to streaming my work again. I fell off over this year because I got busy with so much stuff. Yeah, I feel like... I don't know if it was this way for you, but a lot of folks during 2020 had the ability to do a lot more of that. And then in the last year, that's kind of gone away. Can you do EQ style strafe run in, turn to get the bow shots in while you run to kite? Yes, the you in quotes can do that. Will I do it successfully while reading chat and half-ass paying attention? Maybe, maybe not. But in theory, you can. I think I've watched Nick do it. Unfiltered said, I give too much money to animal rescue GoFundMes. We all have our passions. Dragon said, I was about to say, you don't seem to be collecting all that many necklaces. Yeah, because the people with the necklaces, they want to keep them for now, so. Tell you what, I'm gonna try one more pull, and then while I'm regaining hit points, I'm gonna run and sell. So let me see if I can find a scout. You know what? I'm not going to mess with a scout. I'm just going to kill another snake or something, and then I'll go sell and buy a torch. So who can play your game currently? Surprised to see someone else. The someone else's are currently just people that are on the team. We've already got a installer, launcher, patcher, integrated. We're using Sola for that, so it's feasible that all of you could get a link, install and play, but there's a bit of security stuff and other polish items we want to get in place before we start inviting some folks in this year. So our goal that we've stated is to demonstrate that we can have people in and playing with us before the end of the year. That seems very feasible. And then we'll use our learnings from that to talk about how to expand to getting more people in and when and how we want to do that. So those rain effects are not too bad. Do you know how they're making that happen? Ollie put them together as a sort of programmer art approach to it. I cannot tell you in detail how he did it. But as someone mentioned earlier, we're pretty active on our Discord. So if you have specific questions, feel free to hop into Discord and ask them. Those of you that are new and you're wondering about playtesting, I've got the feeling that if you're not on our mailing list, you may not be part of the initial playtest. Just a feeling. Our mailing list is right at 2,000 people. We almost crossed 2,000 and then we lost a couple people. So let me look and see where we're at. We may be at 2,000. 2-year anniversary, 2,000 people. That's the goal. Let's see. Where are we at? MailChimp. Oh, wow. We've surpassed it. We're actually at 2,400 now. I mean, 2,014. Sorry, 2,400 would be huge. 2014. So let's see if we can make it 2022, guys. When is the 2-year anniversary? Just sometime this month, kind of unofficially. I went back and was looking at Discord DMs and saw that like Nick and I were chatting and Ali and I were chatting separately, I think at the time. And then we all got together about this time, a little bit later in 2020. So we kind of consider, I think September is as good a month as any to, and then one day we'll just probably arbitrarily pick a date and say this is our anniversary. But then we'll also have like a launch anniversary as well, I guess, at some point. So Shifty Gnome here, he'll actually buy some of this crap. The way our merchants are set up is every merchant won't buy everything. Some merchants, they want specific things. Or will only take specific things. Shifty will he'll buy critter bits for now, so I don't know what he does with them, and then he'll also sell me a torch, which is cool. There we go. What if a sheer scouts just popped into a zone like army scouts do for a small amount of time, gathers number of players in the area, and if not killed in like 10 minutes, he pops out, and a sheer warriors, X number of players pop in and skirmish the zone line a few minutes. Minor triggered event. I think stuff like that is little triggered events will be fun. I was actually thinking of playing around with our tools to see if I can do a slightly bigger one sometime soon. Probably more themed undead. But yeah, that said, I want to make sure that they're up. We've got some up all the time for the quest for now. Justin said, it said my subscribe was a success, so let me look in my email. Well, don't look in your email right now. You're not going to have an invitation in there. Trust me. Trust me when I say this to you, Justin. How do I make sure the mailing list goes to me instead of my spam folder? Ooh, I don't know if there's a way where you can flag us as being extra special or something. There's still some stuff that we need to fix on how we have it set up to make it where we get relegated to the spam folder list. I'm still level 1. I'm feeling pretty mighty. I say that right as, oh, I don't have him targeted. I'm a dummy. Well, let me see if I can pull this off. Vagrant Frontier. Auto attack actually helps. Thank you for the follow. Oh, hey, you did catch a stream. Look at you. Oof. Killed him. Try one more before I rest. Oh, that was interesting. There's some wackiness going on with his head wobble. Datum, what's up? How you doing today? So this is... well, looks like I broke myself. What is with the dead ogre and the naked man? Prior to yesterday or the day before, when you're a new player, you didn't have any clothes. So we all look like this when we logged in. Well, assuming there we go. We updated. So everybody was running around like this. So that's why so many of the corpses are naked. Now you can still get naked in our system. Well, I mean, you can still get in your underwear in our system. But the guards will yell at you eventually. Alright, so I've broken my animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop out real quick. And then I'm going to hop back in. I may cheat. I'll run around because in theory I'm supposed to be debugging this quest, not playing it. I added it yesterday, so I'll probably expedite things and use a few commands here and there. So I can at least validate this quest. Oh, I gotta figure out how to get my posture a little bit better. I have not found a good posture in streaming for the last 2 years. Maybe like this? You guys, you can still hear me, right? The mic's only that far away. Alright, so maybe I'll sit like this. Yeah, I've got a tiny lumbar pillow. Somebody recommended a badass one. I think John did. Like last year, he recommended a really cool looking lumbar pillow. And then it was sold out. And here, GM on. So now I'm an admin. And so I checked a few times over the course of a couple of weeks and it was sold out. And so I haven't looked again. Oh, hey, well below average. How are you? Dragon Moffin said, love the art. Thank you. If you're talking about the splash screen especially, I will give you a thank you for Goblin who did it. Let's see. I am not seeing... I'm not seeing a lot of mobs that should be here, so I'm curious if they're getting stuck and bunching up, kind of like we see up there, or what the deal is. I'm going to go take a look and then I'm going to repop. By repop, those of you who are new, it's just basically I'm going to repopulate the zone. I'm going to reload data. Though it is kind of fun, like I see the Ashira stuck on these runes over there. And it's kind of nice seeing some mobs just standing there like a little camp. So we'll probably have to get a small camp or two in this newbie zone. Vagrant said he found me on YouTube from a video. I was reacting to Josh Hayes. Ah, that's probably the one that Keith put together on Mandrake Farms. All right, so in Ashira. Was this a village out here in the desert at one time in front of Wormsbane? There was a lot out here over the years. Out here and under here. Yep. So they do have They do have a necklace on them. All right. So that works. I proved that it drops. Dragon, we've got a nice chunk of the world lore started. I mean, there's a lot to write, but we started that in year 1. So we've got a decent amount of lore started. What we're probably not going to do is post a lot of it outside of the game. We'll put just enough to kind of give you an overview of what you're in for. But for us, the goal really is to have you learn about the world while playing as much as possible. Justin said he found out how to move the mailing list with Gmail. Oh, nice. You have to tell folks in Discord. Because I think it's one of the things that happens with games is there's this desire to get you hooked on the world building, you know, get you hooked on the universe as much as possible. So much lore is presented outside of the game that when we then get into a game, then it's kind of like, I already know all this stuff, right? Whereas I like the idea of just getting in and really starting to learn about the world as I go. You have to drag it from email from spam folder to your primary folder. Does it say then everything's good to go? You'll have to see next one we send out, Justin, see if it winds up in spam or in promotions again. Can't wait for the 4-hour long, all the monsters and memories so far. Videos I can binge. Nice. Button says, this is such a cozy and motivating stream. Thank you. I'll be honest, we've heard that a bit. And I'm extremely proud of, I'm so proud of this community. Wasn't that the meme? All right, so let me just go turn these items in. Let's pretend like I did the quest properly. I'm gonna create the items and I'll turn them in to make sure that this next step is working. You know, Vagrant, I like to, when I'm doing work where I don't have to just like have no sounds, sometimes if I'm writing or doing certain things, I've just got to have like 0 sound. I'll even put on noise canceling headphones at home in an empty apartment in order to be able to focus. But then when I'm working on other stuff, it's cool to listen to some of the other streams and stuff or VODs from the team. So I think I get your sentiment there. Summon item. Yeah, I made it so you could actually wear it. It doesn't do anything, but you can wear it. Because it's a necklace. Ashira Scout Necklace. A delicate handcrafted necklace taken from an Ashira Scout. Alright. Summon. Summon. ASMR annoys you? Hayes Anderson. Hopefully this doesn't qualify as ASMR then. Nicodemus said, this guy shifted his workday schedule flex time so he could watch the stream. That is very cool of you. Boom, so that did work. The Ashira are a constant threat to the western and northern trade routes, though in a way, part of me is sympathetic to any creature that's trying to survive in such a harsh environment. But we're obliged to do our part in keeping Night Harbor safe, and unfortunately that puts us in a bit of a conflict with our furry feral friends. So he wants me to go out and fill this bag with the Shira warrior necklaces. This guy's got a necklace thing. So let's go see if they're dropping. It's funny with the way our with the way the sound works at the moment. I notice if I strafe run, it actually sounds like I'm running slower. But I'm pretty sure mathematically I'm going faster. All of our mobs are caught in a tree, so let me repop the zone real quick. Secret boss later in the game, Lord of the Necklace. At some point, you realize he's got this stockpile of necklaces. He's just this weird freak about necklaces. Vagrant, yeah, that's kind of my impression as well. Will you be able to play as a crafter only if you want to? Todd Makes Games asks. Nothing's preventing you from being just a crafter, but at the moment we have no plan to support like experience point allocation or anything for crafting. So you won't progress as adventurers do, but nothing's preventing you from playing the game. I mean, back in the day, my guild had a level like 13 or 15 player that was one of the richest people on the server that we invited because of that, and all he did was trade. Need to remove the collision on the fronds of the tree still. That should help prevent them spawning and getting stuck in a tree. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Pattis. Those of you that don't know, Pattis here streams as well. Pattis is doing all of this wonderful environment art. That makes a lot of sense, Pattis. I was wondering if it was like a new or continued issue with pathing. So that explains the trees, but we still have to make sure that we've got a solution for, notice stuff getting stuck on the wall or on the walls. Unfiltered Stallion, thank you for the follow. Oh, no, thank you for the Prime sub. Sorry. So, scouts, let's look for warriors. Let me turn off my aggro so I don't get killed. I have the high ground now. I am not moving. That's a fair point, Vagrant. Todd Makes Games said would be cool if crafting skills could progress separately from combat style progression. Your skill can progress, but you don't get experience points, if that makes sense. So like experience essentially. Now in theory we could put quests in that give you I mean, it's just this whole thing that we haven't discussed yet, and I don't know that we'll go down that route, but excuse me. I could have sworn EverQuest 2 provided adventure experience and trade skill experience. And they were both like standard experience systems. But we just give, at least in the current thinking, we just give skill points that increase. Okay, there's a warrior. Let's stat him to see. It does show that he drops necklaces, but that one does not have a necklace on him. Zavacraft, thank you for the follow. G Fuel said Star Wars Galaxies had skill trees that allowed full leveling with arts, crafts, and doctors. It was a cool concept that ended way too soon. Yeah, they did a lot of really cool stuff in there. again, we've got a couple people on the team that really love that style of game, that game in particular. I think I would have liked it more when it first came out if my machine could run it smoothly, and then if it had content. Like I think if that game just had more sort of like basic content when it came out. I'm not saying like the full NGE change to it, but I'm saying like just basic content beyond the mission system. I probably would have been way more into it as well. But I was pretty hooked on EQ at the time. Is this the same guy? I think it is. Yep. I'm gonna kill him. Get him out of here. But if it shows on his treasure table, then in theory it will drop. When spawning, are they popping in from the sky downward to find its y-axis starting loc? Just curious if you guys are use spawn point objects in outdoor zones, or is it location randomization in a blanket area? Here, let me show you what we're doing. We're doing both. The short answer is we're doing both. Albius said, idea Jedi-like holocron-esque linguistic ruins hidden across the world unlocks ancient language. We have interactive objects, and in theory we can award language skill increases via interactive objects, and we have other trade skills that may tie into that as well. Hey Keebs, what's going on, buddy? All right, so this should be up here. Let me go show you, Nicodemus. So it's a mix of both. So you see the individual numbers. Individual numbers are individual NPC spawns. In town, that's mostly merchants, though if you look over here, these thugs and ruffians and stuff are NPCs that are lower level that you can fight, and they're just spawned in with single points, and they've got go-tos and stuff like that. But then if you look over here, we've got various volumes. So I'll close this and I'll go back to Kimmery. Thank you for 4 months. Good to see you. You have a random thought you want to share. All right, Keeps, share away. So let me go ahead and cheat and finish this quest so that I know it works. Because I basically just implemented everything in a database yesterday and didn't have time to just run through it. That's not an excuse, but I figured it'd be something that is easy enough to do on stream. So I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow, and moved on to some other stuff. Asai. Jira necklace. Or... So I got what, 4, 5, 6 now. Cool. Let's see if the bag actually combines. Nice how you guys managed to edit while logged in. Yeah, it's very convenient. Because say if this is broken, I can just hop into database over here. I can make some adjustments. Oops, I just minimized everything. I hate when that happens. So that's not what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you guys. There you are. And so I can just make, because I'm working in live. I'm not working in like a separate branch or anything like that. or a copy to DB. So what I do is I just make adjustments. I repop the zone. The data's in there. Good to go. Hey, John, what's up? So those of you that are new, I didn't run through this earlier, but you know, part of what we're trying to do is go for like a very old school look, but have these nice, more modern, higher res painted textures, and then just do a lot of playing with light, shadow. All right, combine. All right, I combined it. I crafted a pack of a Sheer Warrior necklaces, which it's because it's using the crafting system. It's just for quest objects. So one of the things that we may change that for quest objects just as a polish thing. But that's just changing that string. So it creates this, and then we don't have a quest journal, but I have tried to include sort of hints in some of the objects. And so it says in the description of this, a pack full of Ashira necklaces for Jacobin. Cool. Can I talk about our back-end tech stack? Not eloquently or in a sophisticated manner. That's best asked on Discord of Ali and the guys. You know, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So Keep said, sorry. At some point, if they repeat it enough, I'll be able to speak beyond just saying that our networking layer is lightnetlib and blah, blah, blah. But it's not really my thing, so it doesn't come as natural. So I'd rather let those guys talk about it. Keep said, so it's just a stoner thing, but I was thinking about how cool it would be to have well-known named items just kind of lost and thrown somewhere in the game. Things like Holy Hand Grenade, Bag of Holding, items, throwing items like Azrael's Ring of Analogies, Golden 3D Boots. Basically nostalgic items for people to find hidden throughout the game. You mean use the actual names of items from other games, Keebs? Or do you just mean... Because I don't know that we're gonna do many, if any, one-for-one sort of names. We may have some that sound pretty close or whatever, but they won't be one-for-one. Could be a play on words. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not as worried about like copyright or trademark on most things. I think it'd be kind of hard to enforce on some things. Like the Polished Granite Tomahawk is a collection of words that just kind of make sense together. But yeah, we'll I think we'll try to find a way to have there be nostalgic moments through things like that without it just being so obvious that we're just going, hey, have you played this game? Cool, we did too. Now it's in our game. You know what I mean? I'm going to get up in a minute and make the dog go to his crate. Flowing blue silk sash. Yeah, something like that's not as bad, right? All right, I'm going to hand this in. Cool, that looks like it worked as well. With the exception of, I don't think he... Yeah, so I don't think he gives me the note that is needed. I do know Ginny's two-tone BP. 876530. Was it 8? I thought it was 9. Yeah, okay, 9. That meeting, the night that that item was agreed upon to be put in game during Luckland development, was such a crazy night. It was one of those old school games aren't developed in that manner anymore kind of experiences. Swanee, no. Albius, I think that update 10 tech overview is out of date. $8765309. You're right, Todd. So let me look and see where... Oh, let me double check this other... Mushroom smothered scale tunic. Smothered, chopped, and diced. Let me... Oh. Let me see, did I not... Okay, here's the full pack. Yep, you're not given an item here, so... Let's put an item drop on this quest like it's supposed to have. And let me see, did I actually make an item for this? Yep. Cancel this for now. Let me go to my documentation. Archer quest. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Nope. I don't see item in bold. So what I'm going to do is on the other monitor here, I'm going to hop into the item database. I'm going to... Oh, no, I have one. Yeah, so I did make an item. I just didn't attach it. Well, that's good. So we'll come back here. And we will... Oh, this was it. We'll add that item. We'll put it right here. Item. Cool. Save. And then what we'll do is... Oh, wow. That looks like a text issue there, so I might as well clean that up while I'm in here. Hey, T-Con. Oh, that's what the issue is. Essentially missing a bracket. Cool. Clean that up. So what I'll do is... I'll repop the zone. That'll load the latest data into it. Hey, Esam, what's up, dude? I'm going to copy that from the database SI. Got the full pack. Give it to him. Cool, I received the item that I did not receive last time. He says, I can take it to the quartermaster. Take the note in my tunic to the quartermaster. My brain just turns off when I'm streaming. Not only did I place all of these mobs, I've run to this guy like 10 times, but as soon as I'm like bouncing back and forth looking at the monitor to watch chat, playing the game, I'm always just wrong. Alright, so give him this. Give him that. Hand it in. Cool. And I have finished the first 2 quests. And now I didn't really finish the first 2 quests because had I finished the first 2 quests, I'd be a higher level. And would have invested a hell of a lot more time because I can't even kill the mob that I needed to kill to get the items to finish this quest. But I've got a very snazzy placeholder tunic for the time being. And it all works. Minus that one bug. So I found one showstopper bug in my implementation yesterday. And I found a couple of text issues. There's another one that I need to fix, but I can't remember where it's at. I'm pretty sure it was when I was talking to Jacobin though, so I can just take a quick glance and see if anything looks silly. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Could have sworn it was an unnecessary space in an emote. All these look okay. Yeah, no, well. Let me scan again real quick. Let me see if bows are auto-firing. It's been bugged in the past. I don't remember if it got fixed. Well, that's a nice exploit. My auto-fire range is outside of their aggro range. Well, let me check our bug database to see if that's a thing. Nice. Sniper. I totally forgot about that. That used to be an issue every time we were making like an ability back in the day. We'd have to keep that in mind. So basically when we were setting up an ability back in the day, we'd always have to make sure that we weren't setting up an ability that exceeded the aggro radius of the NPC. He walks like you when you fail to stretch. Yeah, I think I broke myself earlier with this as well. There's something to do with the maybe auto fire animation. That locks me in my Nina Cherry Buffalo stance. For those of you that were young adults in the 90s, you know what's up. So I'll need to make a note about that in our bug channel, just as a like, hey, when we're doing abilities in general, we need to consider this. Because maybe I'm wrong on what's going on here, but what happens is, at least what I thought used to happen is, you would fire your ability. The range would exceed their ability to aggro on you. There was no like override that just says, if this thing hit me, I don't give a shit where it's at. I'm gonna, you know, hawk it down. And what it would do is it would like aggro for a second, but then be out of range. Something like that. So I could be wrong on all of this, but I could have sworn that was one of those things we always had to watch out for. There was a range that we could exceed with abilities that would make it to where they were very prone to exploitation. Now, let me see if I'm closer, if that actually... Yeah, exactly, Goblin. It could just be that autofire is not generating threat. Yeah, that's it. So... Incurie said, I did not expect to hear Nina Cherry mentioned today. If you remember the 90s and you are a fan of hip-hop, R&B, or pretty much anything else from that period, that's like the only shit that I can semi-quote properly. Okay, so it's just not generating threat. So that may actually be known. That may be a known issue. I just gotta check. Cool. So, I am currently locked in this animation until I log out. Let me do a quick check. I'll check our database real quick. Known issue or gnome issue, both would be accurate. Funny. Auto fire. Let's see what all bugs we have for auto fire. This looks like a different bug. Gary, it looks like you were working on these bugs. I'll just add a note to the existing auto fire conversation. It looks like auto fire isn't generating hate. Per today's playtest. What is today? 09/1/3/2022. Is this a known issue? I was able to plink mobs to death without them attacking. Comment. I'm helping. Ventali said, is this a playlist or the in-game soundtrack? And if in-game, any chance of release? It's cozy stuff. It is in-game, but we do have a playlist. Duplicate. Hit pause. Hit pause. Hit pause. Okay, cool. Go to our playlist. So if you go to our YouTube, but I'll give you a link, but just in case you don't click it. Go here, hit pause, playlists. Basically, we link from our site over to Robert, who does all of our sounds and music. We link his playlist here on YouTube. And share, copy. So that playlist should take you to Robert's music. Which, if we look here, we'll do this real quick so you can hear some more. We've got the main theme. Turn that up a little bit more. Then we've got the Night Harbor soundtrack. And that's the one that you've been listening to. Then we've got Tomb of the Last Wormsbane soundtrack, which is, we haven't been in there today, but it's a really beautiful track. Oh, cool, Albius. Yeah, so again, you can find our YouTube here. If you like it, please subscribe. I think that helps. We try to answer everybody's comments and give you little hearts and all that good shit. It's good for discovery. So Dragon said this seems unit testable, but it is very cool to see the game in action. This seemed unit testable? Question mark. You mean you feel like the game seems pretty playable? And so the only track that he's made that's not up here yet is the one for okay, Dragon. He's referring to the range bug. Seems like it's very testable. This seemed unit testable. Yeah, I guess. You guys talk like programmers. So there's this track. There's the Deep Dunes, which is like one of our first examples of deep realms. Oh my god, no. That is my mistake. Let me delete my comment for being a dummy. Gary, that is 100% the case. That's what I should have double checked. I forgot earlier when I was testing stuff, I turned my aggro off. Noob mistake. Noob mistake. I'll in cam and I'll be like, disregard. This was me being a noob. Comment deleted. Who put the QA intern in charge? Sheesh. Yeah. Listen. If you want QA done right, it is not me. Nick is the QA master. But you see how fast our engineer figured that one out? He's like, hey, dumbass, You turned aggro off earlier. Problem solved. And just to prove that that is the case, aggro on. Watch me get attacked. Embarrassing. Oh, I'm sweating a little bit from embarrassment. Yep, see that jackal is going to come kill me right there. Technically, I was right when I said it was an exploit. Yeah. It was just a GM manufactured exploit. Alright, so this is another track I don't think you guys have heard. And another one. This should be the final walk animation. And another one. So anyway, there's tracks that you haven't heard. Click the link or hit us up in Discord and check them out. Let's see. Let's go here. All right, so the quest is in. It is working. That's nice. I will hop out now. Cool. I think we're good on that front. We've got some other stuff. So anyway, there was something that I wanted to do today. Don't do these very often, but I did want to do this. If you will bear with me. I don't know if I need to change the channel category or the stream category for this. But since it's game development, right? The category is software and game development. I think doing this is still within the sort of scope of the channel, but there's a 30-minute video that I wanted to watch and basically discuss with you guys and see what you thought as well. We've done this once or twice before. Matter of fact, Vagrant, I think you said you found the channel because of a similar discussion. So I was going to watch this Asmongold reacting to TheLazyPeon videos. So it'll be like a React Inception. A React Inception. A chain reaction. Yeah. Reactception. So wanted to check this out and see what you guys think. Thank you, Dragon. I'm going to read that because you took the time to write all of it. A unit test is a test of a specific portion of the code separate from all other code. This is done to avoid bugs from other systems affecting the one you are currently testing. An example of that would be turning off your aggro before attacking with autofire, thus creating the bug in the first place. In your case, you could have a series of functions which allow you to test the quest without even having to launch a game and worry about all the other parts of the game. I'm worrying about. Yeah, I guess in theory, our programmers could assemble something like that for us, but I don't know. Then I would have less to show on stream. So doing it the old school way allows you to see some of the content while I just test firsthand. Now, my testing may not be as good as the unit test, and then I've got to wonder, like, how do you write a tool that hits all the specific criteria for the test in a way that's more efficient than just testing it? I'm doing live integration testing. That's correct. Thank you, Big Matt. So anyways, let's check this out. I'm always a bit wary of these types of, like, I guess, reacts, especially reacts to reacts, especially with folks like Josh and Asmon and others that I think if and when the kind of Eye of Sauron finds its way to the game that we're working on, the reaction will be very funny. Just because when we're looking at these videos, the expectations that a lot of folks have in the like content MMO content creation space seems to be primarily aimed at AAA style or very, very big MMOs, right? Like essentially when the term MMO is used in the context of one of these videos, my assumption is most times, unless specifically called out by somebody like LazyPeon, who has done reviews on smaller and indie MMOs in the past, quite favorably, honestly, on many of them. But whenever I hear the term MMO used in the context of one of these videos, I typically believe that it's referring to the next big MMO or a bigger MMO, like essentially one that's more legitimate or vying for, millions and millions of subs. So anyway, let's hit this off. Oh, another disclaimer. I do think when the day comes, those of you that are part of our community and have been part of the community and are loyal and wonderful people, and honestly, as a couple people have mentioned this stream alone, it's just a very nice, cozy community. When Asmon looks at our game and goes, "This looks like dog shit," the way he does about, I would say, 80 to 90% of the games out there, let alone indie games, don't take offense. I won't. I hope the team doesn't. It's just his manner of speaking. So, all right, let's get this going. Let's check out the levels. I'll probably readjust the screen or something to kind of see how to fit this in there best or whatever. And we'll go from there. So let's check it out.
When will MMORPGs become popular again? Never? No, they will be. I guarantee you they will be. Nobody has correctly created the formula that makes an MMORPG something more than a game right now. And I think the reason for that, very simply, is I think that there are not tools that exist right now to create an immersive experience that is transformative enough to make MMORPGs have the same impact that they had back in the early 2000s.
Can you guys hear it okay? Is the sound still low? I'm looking at the, volume up still? Because I'm looking at the meter and it seems high. I'm gonna make an adjustment. I'm gonna rewind it, and then you let me know. I'm very quiet as well. I'm very loud. Browser is not. Okay. Let's try this again then. My voice is 3 times as loud as the video. Yes. All right, so I'll turn it up to be equal to my loud ass voice. Let's try this.
When will MMORPGs become popular again? Never? No, they will be. I guarantee you they will be. Nobody has correctly created the formula that makes an MMORPG something more than a game right now. And I think the reason for that, very simply, is I think that there are not tools that exist right now to create an immersive experience that is transformative enough to make MMORPGs have the same impact that they had back in the early 2000s.
So this is a point that comes up a couple of times in the video. And again, I don't think the rules of reacting to videos allow me to look ahead, but I did. So This is a point that comes up a few times, and essentially, my takeaway from it is that there's a desire to have our lives changed as much as they were changed the first time we played our first MMOs, which was like, holy shit, this is a big virtual world, and we get very immersed in the experience of being in that world, based primarily off the fact that we'd never seen anything like it before. So it was inherently more immersive. And so in an effort to get that same level of immersion and wonder and that sense of being transported to a different world, we need a new technology. And I find it interesting because I can see where that still relates to MMOs, as in, well, when we have an MMO that is VR based or whatever, and I'm assuming it's some variation of VR, even if by VR we mean it's direct brain computer interface, and it's essentially you're not moving at all and you're essentially in the Matrix. I get that, but then I feel like what winds up happening then is we're judging all current MMOs based off this ideal of what's essentially a true virtual world in the future. And so when those things get conflated, I find it kind of sets the bar a little bit high for MMOs that are just trying to be MMOs nowadays. So anyways, but I say it now because I think you'll see that as a theme a couple times in the video, especially again towards the end.
It is just simply not transformative enough. It will be soon. But yeah, Sword Art Online or something like that. Yeah, tech isn't there yet. It will be. It's only a matter of time. Let's watch the video. I'm very curious to hear what LazyPeon's take on this is. Here we go.
Do you miss the glory days of MMORPGs? Back when you were dropped in what felt like a completely unexplored world with infinite possibilities. You spawned into the game for the first time, and there was instantly a feeling of mystery. You'd quest for a bit, see some high levels hanging out near the starting area, wearing their epic gear, and it'd inspire you to keep playing to eventually obtain that same badass gear.
Matt said, you're reacting to a guy reacting to another guy? Yeah. Reacception. Goblin said the gameplay has been focused on too much in most recent MMOs. Simple take. And by gameplay, I think, do you mean essentially pushing gameplay to feel like it's, AAA action based or console based or whatever based, and that pushing sort of the fidelity and action of the moment to moment experience?
From a cash shop and transmog wasn't a thing back then, remember? Every game felt like a new adventure, every character meaningful, with people potentially recognizing you in a capital city within server communities.
That's what would happen with me back in the day. It was fucking awesome. Like, how many of you guys that played WoW like really hardcore would have people invite you on accident whenever they meant to inspect? Like, that was like the biggest fucking ego boost. Holy shit, that was huge. Yeah.
The glory days of MMOs felt so magical because the games were huge, the music was epic, and for most of us, these were our first open world multiplayer experiences. But not all of it is nostalgia. The success of classic WoW iterations and old school RuneScape show that older design philosophies, whilst outdated and used differently nowadays, can still appeal to a large audience. Even the forefathers of MMOs like Ultima Online or EverQuest still see a lot of people going back to the private servers just to experience that classic style of MMO design, where your choices were impactful, progression felt meaningful, and social interaction was more abundant.
So, you're right, Matt. It might be easier or smoother to just react specifically to LazyPeon's video, but whenever I'm watching YouTube content, I'll find myself, if something's got Asmon reacting, it's kind of a 2-for-1, because I am very interested in his opinions on things, like for no matter what some of you may think about the way he communicates them or whatever. I'm, as somebody that's been working in games for, a while, to me, it's really interesting to see the level of understanding that content creators have of both the industry, player motivations, game design, business, basically the business decisions that are driving a lot of this. There's really some, I would say a lot of the perspective and a lot of what I hear from various content creators is pretty on the money, but then there are those times where it's just like, it's just off, So, he explains his opinions very well, Zaba. So, yeah. So, and Goblin responded, gameplay for a gamer, not gameplay for the average. I want to exist in another world, sort of thing. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's a good way to articulate it. The focus has become more and more in making a game and not making a place that happens to have gameplay as a primary motivator for being in the place. So
I think the most thing is the social interaction. I actually think that's the real reason why MMORPGs were successful, and I think it's the real reason why MMORPGs aren't as successful now. Because social media has taken the role that MMORPGs filled for a lot of people.
MMO glory days.
So I agree with him all the way up until the point where it says social media has taken a place. For the people that social media has taken the place or taken the place of the role that MMOs used to fill, sure. But I still believe there's a decent segment of people that want to have that social experience, have that sense of place, enjoy some of the constraints and style of the game design of the previous era. And that is a smaller segment. Oh, my dog's crying. Hey, what's up, buddy? That's a smaller segment, but still, it's not everybody. But it was just interesting hearing Peon talking about old school MMOs and describe a lot of what we tend to talk about here.
To be the time period from roughly 1999 to 2012. The release of World of Warcraft in 2004 elevated this time period significantly though. These years, starting from Ultima Online, EverQuest, RuneScape to WoW, and so many more that I can't list, created a highly competitive and, most importantly, incredibly motivated market. People loved MMOs, and developers wanted to be a part of this new virtual world phenomenon. Just from 2004 to 2005, 31 new MMORPGs were released.
Twitter's a kind of MMO, Matt said. Instead of slaying dragons, you get to shitpost to celebs and politicians. Well, yeah, I could see that. There's even a progression system, right? How many followers do you have? It's a fair point.
Ranging from those.
Back in the day, MMORPG was like the battle royale of gaming. Everybody wanted to have the big new MMORPG. It's actually crazy to think about, but it was pretty much the exact same.
This is 1,000% true. Yeah, it was funny. We, a handful of us that were on the EQ team got called up, basically asked if we wanted to go up to EA in LA for the day and talk to them. So we were like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. What's the harm in talking? And so we went up there, and it was funny because they just had us go around in like separate groups to each of the producers of all the stuff they were making. And there was these questions that were just like, if you could turn, if you could turn game X into an MMO, how would you do it? Right? Like they basically just wanted to turn every game into an MMO. It was pretty crazy.
Metin 2 to World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 1. In 2021, we saw Elion and New World release.
Yeah, everybody
Elion
wanted to make an MMO back then.
Instantly, and New World has had its fair share of struggles, to say the least. In 2022, we've only really had Lost Ark. Throne and Liberty by NCSoft was supposed to release at the end of the year, but is delayed till 2023.
The beginning
as an
of
MMO content
though.
creator, I've really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel the past few years. I kind of feel like...
For me, I feel like in the last year or so, I've had really no problem trying to find content. Like, I actually haven't found any real struggle with that, because there's been a lot of games that... The thing is with me is, like, I also play the...
Guys, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get my dog to hop in his crate so he'll chill out. As cute as he is, he gets bummed sometimes if I'm not playing with him and mom's not home, and he really needs to be in his crate. It'll take 1 second. All right, I am back. Matt said all these games are so spastic. It's definitely not. It's definitely not our combat. It's definitely not a nice little tab target. You can eat a sandwich while playing combat.
The games, like, pretty seriously. Like, I don't just play the story and then quit the game. I'll try to actually, like, complete all of the content in the game, and then I'll be done with it. I think that's probably why it takes more time for me to finish it.
MMOs peaked around WoW's Wrath of the Lich King expansion that saw a peak sub count of 12 million players.
That's a lot of people.
And this was at a time when way less people had access to PCs.
Am I too close to Asmon?
Large MMO-like games.
It was a big thing.
In today's gaming market, if we had a new MMO phenomenon as big as WoW was at its peak, surely that player count would be at least double due to the growth of gaming as a whole. So,
we're using Unity, Tinspin.
yeah. What happens, and what would need to happen to MMOs for us to go through another time period where MMORPGs are the hype genre again, where every dev is jumping on the bandwagon trying to cash in on their own MMO, like from 2004 to 2012? Are we, the players, the problem? Is corporate greed just taking over? Or are younger gamers with their shorter attention spans just not into MMOs' long-winded progression?
So to answer, provide an answer to Peon's question about what would it take to get more people hyped on making MMOs again, this may be completely wrong, but I think one thing that could potentially trigger a wave of new MMOs, but not necessarily massive multi-$100 million MMOs, is if you see all of the developers that have been leaving some of the bigger studios like Blizzard, etc. If they start smaller studios and they decide that they're more focused on making something that's profitable, than they are denting the universe and trying to get every subscriber. And yeah. He is looking at me kind of in a loving way. So I think it is possible for people that have experience in the industry that feel that they can make a viable MMO to a smaller niche of people, but make a profitable MMO. I think we may see that more and more smaller, like small to medium sized companies with experience will take a crack at making smaller MMOs. Because if you look at it, EverQuest in 2002, with 450,000 subscribers, when people didn't have 3D cards and barely had computers and barely knew how to use email when they were like petitioning us with customer service issues, 450,000 subscribers back then, you know, that was like a cool 5-6 million, right, a month. Which, if you got a team of, you know, 30, 40 people and you're able to get half of that, that's not a bad month. That's not a bad month, right? So 225,000 subscribers. That's something that we're looking to do. I think there are going to be a lot of other smaller to medium-sized teams that look to do that, people with experience. And then, as Ulthrin just said, someone said 10,000 people would be enough to run a stable game. Again, depending on what your payback window is looking like and what your operating expenses are month to month, it's enough to sustain a small team. And then the question is, can you continue to make that game better and try to grow that from 10,000 to 15,000 to 30,000 people over the course of a couple of years? Those of you that are new here, the last company I worked at, started like 10 years ago, and it's an online horse adventure game for girls. They started with like an 11-person team 10 years ago, had linear growth year over year for 10 years, and grew that to 700,000 monthly active users. So it's feasible.
I disagree with that. I completely disagree with the idea that kids these days can't sit down and grind in a video game anymore. I completely disagree, because the fact is that whenever those same fucking boomers that are 43 now...
A boomer's 43. I'm so old. I wish we could get another term. We're all lumped into the boomer category. There's not a term for Gen X. That's such bullshit. Orn, thank you for 27 months and a 27-month streak. Bless you. But I am definitely a boomer. $20 times 10,000 would be 200,000, or 200,000K a year without expenses. No, it would be 200,000 a month unless it's a yearly subscription, right? Or am I off on that?
Said that about us whenever we were in high school and we wanted to play WoW instead of EverQuest or Ultima Online. And now we're saying it about the kids nowadays that are playing Fortnite. So
but he's true. I absolutely agree with him on this.
So I don't think it's that simple.
We'll get into all of that, but first, sponsor.
Oh,
Infinite
good.
Magic Raid is the newest and biggest idle RPG hero collector of 2022. Enter the Lows Continent, a fantasy world with charming, stylized graphics, full of mystery, magic, and evil to defeat.
So I'm going to turn this down for a moment and let it run. Soyboy Coder, thank you for the follow.
Over 200 of them spread across...
Yeah, 2.4 million a year. It's not bad if you've got a small team. Dragon said, I don't think there will be a massive true resurgence. Sadly, companies have found more profitable routes to make money. I think there will be a renaissance of cool niche MMOs like M&M. You may be 100% correct on that. What I've found though is if a small team makes a decent amount of money, big companies will try to figure out how to do that same thing with the hopes of potentially making it bigger. Nicodemus, thank you for your generosity and the gift sub. Enjoy Backgasm. And what I mean by that is Valheim came out. Valheim's a small team. They did extremely well with that. And how many companies, bigger companies, immediately, like Valheim, what, 3-person team, 5-person team? When you add in like the additional artists and stuff, I guess, that or additional people they got on, but they were like originally a 3-person team. Well, originally 2, plus publisher. As soon as Valheim was successful, how many other companies were like, oh, we should make something like Valheim, right? I mean, I've seen it in companies. The second somebody makes something that's successful, if they're a smaller team, bigger companies will go, oh shit, we should be doing that thing. Now, will they be successful? Maybe not, but big companies could just as easily, if not more easily, attack niche audiences than we can. They can actually throw resources at it. We've spent like 20 grand in the last 2 years and volunteered our time, right? So, yeah. I don't know that they'll be successful, but 10spin, I tell you what we're currently using on the back end is demonstrable. If you check the VOD for earlier, you'll see it in action. If you hit us up in Discord, you can get a bigger, more detailed explanation from our tech folks on that. But essentially, I believe it's we're using a modification of Unity server and lightnet lib for networking and some other stuff, but I'd rather Ali and the guys speak to that. G Fuel said, I have no experience in game dev, but a lot of cloud computing, things like that. Does the rise of platforms like AWS make it easier to scale a game to a larger audience with smaller dev team and thus lower expenses? Yeah. So having stuff like AWS available, having engines like Unity and Unreal and Godot and other stuff available is also makes it a lot easier. So, and then depending on how much you're trying to reinvent the wheel and do something completely new, that also is a factor. Datham, we are watching. We're doing a reaction to a reaction of a reaction. We're watching a commercial right now within LazyPeon's video, but Asmongold is reacting to LazyPeon's video of when will MMORPGs become popular again.
Over anyone who didn't see this video. Download now.
I think that there's a lot of those like phone games. I just wish that there was like more to it, you know?
Oren asked, last couple of months I found Atlas, Darkside RP. Never really did RP before, but the community is very passionate. Have you seen that? Will there be a strong RP aspect to M&M? We've talked a fair bit about how to facilitate or make it more RP friendly, especially when like Keebs was first showing us Atlas a while back, like a year or two ago. And Bunny was showing me all of the GTA 5 like RP servers and stuff. So I think the more we focus on sense of place and providing systems and tools that are not necessarily designed for RP, but definitely allow for it to work, and then maybe see if there's certain things that can help facilitate it. I don't think that is a big stretch for us.
It's disappointing because like I don't know. I think it would be nice if those games were like more involved. Oh, these are all the MMOs that are dying? Oh no. Wow.
For the past few years, MMO releases have felt something like this. A new game comes out, everyone's excited and hyping it up pre-launch.
Then check this out.
What is Eternal?
Damn it!
Because even if the game sucks long term, that new MMO feeling is always fun for a while.
That's what I always tell people. Is like, I had fun playing Tower of Fantasy whenever everybody was playing it. I did, I had fun. I had fun playing New World whenever everybody was playing it. Yeah, the honeymoon phase. Well, it's like, that's not really a bad thing. I mean, fuck. You know, honeymoon phase, just pump and dump it, man. Play it, and when it's not fun, quit. It's fine with me.
Maybe you get your old gaming group back together for launch, book some time off work, and within a week or two, the cracks have already started to show, and the game's bleeding players.
Speaking of this, I actually am curious to see if LazyPeon will do a video following up on some of the changes that have been made to New World. Because I do think that it's a very substantial development that the game has been growing. I consider that a tremendous development. It's actually one of the first times, like, when was the last time that really happened with an MMO? Like Final Fantasy? I can't think of any other game. Maybe WoW, like after they made some changes in like 9.25. But we don't have any data for that. I'm just guessing.
After going through this
ESO?
Cycle over and over
Maybe
again,
so. I didn't play
you
it.
start to get a sense
like
of
one
guilt
day.
that the time you scheduled
2 days.
off.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. The number of MMOs that have been around for, I don't know, 10 plus years, I'm curious how many of them went through sort of maybe not as obvious a cycle of like launch, and you kind of hit, you fail to meet certain expectations or whatever, and then you start to ride out the long tail. Excuse me. I wonder how many of them were able to, just through like support of the company, and kind of a continued investment in improving the game, were able to get to a point where they were able to either sort of sustain and grow and wind up with like a fairly profitable business unit. Because what people forget is even if you start out with tens of millions and it drops down to $1 million or 2 million or whatever it is, depending on the initial invest in it, it's possible, and you can make those numbers smaller or bigger or whatever, it's possible to hit a point where even if the original expectations aren't met, you actually do hit the payback window, then cover operating expenses and actually have a pretty profitable little product that's chugging along. And if it's continuing to maintain that level of profitability pretty consistently over years, that's no joke. Like having decent profit coming in this day and age, even if it's something that's lost the hype or isn't, isn't as sexy anymore or whatever, having that profit come in, I've seen, firsthand at companies where it's like companies are kind of counting on that. I mean, look at EverQuest. EverQuest paid for a lot of other games to be developed, and those other games launched, and most of those other games were nowhere near as profitable as EverQuest, or if they were, it took quite a while. And so that's, even if the company starts to kind of ignore that game or whatever, if they're still giving it support and not canceling it, companies wind up with a nice little profit engine sitting back there. And then they're still rolling the dice on new games, and the new games may not even ever ship, or they may ship and fail as well. So yeah, I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious to see what happens with New World and sort of follow its trajectory.
Work probably could have been spent better with friends, family, or an actual vacation. But instead you just wasted your time on another failed MMO, making you more and more jaded. New MMO releases nowadays almost never see a growing player base after launch.
Nope.
It felt like MMOs during this time period did a much better job at retaining players and even gaining players.
I don't agree with that point. If you go back and look at all of the MMOs that were discussed earlier in this video in terms of that bandwagon jumping period where like everybody was making an MMO, I would say statistically it would have to be more than half, if not the majority of them, came out, had hype, and then tapered off and either got canceled pretty quickly, lasted for a couple of years and died. Look at games like Earth and Beyond and all the other stuff that was coming out during that period. More MMOs have crashed and burned than have succeeded. So, but there were a handful of games that did a very good job of retaining players. And again, saw that firsthand. While working on EQ, every new MMO that came out, we would see our concurrent user count go down for a little bit. We would see other people go try that game out for a little bit, and then they would come back, a couple of months later, up until WoW. So, yeah, I disagree.
In recent years, the only MMO I can think of that's actually managed to gain players is Final Fantasy XIV.
It's hard for me to say if Final Fantasy XIV is growing in players now. I would probably say not. Maybe the new Savage tier came out. They brought out those island sanctuaries. So there's definitely more content going on. But if you view any of these Steam charts as a data point or any sort of a data indicator, then that would not be the case.
Meet you, you magnificent bastards!
Are people just fundamentally bored of the MMO formula? Why do so many games feel empty and repetitive? What's happened to us, and how has game design changed in the last 20 years? Well, for one, we have changed.
I think that's the big difference, is people are looking back at a time whenever they were more naive and they couldn't see the wizard behind the machine. I've said this 100 times, right? It's like people are nostalgic for being a young, naive kid more than they are nostalgic for any specific game. Final Fantasy on Steam is dwarfed by other platforms that use it. So,
I mean, he has said that a number of times. I think Josh Hayes has done a good job of articulating thoughts on this front as well. It may be true. It could be that it's impossible for folks to recapture that feeling. And I mean, we'll see. We're here to test that out a little bit, but hopefully also get new people in for the first time. But yeah, the thought is that even with that in mind, there is a different type of experience that could be made, and it's definitely worth a try. Veluxton said, after playing MMOs for years, I personally decided to stop due to the fact I couldn't compete with full-time gamers. The folks that have 14, 16 hours. The question I always have for people is, the folks that are like, oh, I can't compete, so I'll just stop. Maybe there's a happy medium. Maybe there's accept the fact that you can't compete, but is there a layer of people that you would want to be around within these games? Do you enjoy the sense of place, or do you just, if you're not, is it one of those things where it's like a Ricky Bobby moment if you're, if you're not winning, you're losing, and you gotta like bail. I think it just depends on the personality type. I've known a ton of people that never saw max level, never rated, and still loved having years worth of experiences in games.
So if you take an apple pie and you take a slice out of the apple pie, what type of pie is the slice? It's still an apple pie. So if you take a slice out of the player base that is substantial, this is over 10,000, 20,000 people, and you draw a conclusion from that, I think that's a relative thing that you can extrapolate to the entire population of the game. It's not that the number is accurate, it's that the trend in players is probably somewhat accurate.
Like a pack of rabid dogs, we're jumping on every nugget of information whenever a new MMO is announced. Early access, oversharing development updates, and open betas get us excited for the adventures to come, but also allow us to explore the world, theory craft builds, and map out leveling routes, so by the time a new MMO has fully released, we're ready to min-max the ever-living shit out of it.
Of course.
Less people played games that way back in the day. Do you remember being excited to get your first pair of shoulders back in Vanilla WoW?
Yes.
They looked like a rug at best and gave you nothing but armor. But to...
We were so stupid about min-maxing. Like, my guild, we made our Shadow Priest use Atiesh all the way through Burning Crusade, and nobody would give him an upgrade until the staff from fucking Illidan dropped. Because...
yeah, so I agree with Asmon on this as well. If you look at my guild in EverQuest, right? Like I was never that hardcore. I was mainly there because my guild leader knew that I was part of the dev team. The guy that got me in the guild was part of the dev team as well. And so, but if we look at just how hardcore min-maxing that guild was, we were on a smaller server. We were on 7th Hammer, but my guild leader was so min-max spreadsheet theory craft crazy that even though we were the #1 guild on a smaller server, he was able to win the game-wide best of the best as Shadow Knight, just because he knew everything about everything about the game, and we weren't giving him, spoilers or hints. We might give a nudge every once in a while, but yeah. So anyway, I disagree. The idea that folks are more min-max focused these days. I think what's happened is that there's a much larger total addressable market, and so it's even easier for content creators and companies and everybody else to look at that top 10% or 15% or 3%, which is still a massive segment of players within these huge player bases. And so I think it's just become more, it's more visible. We're more aware of it. It's gone from FOH and, Legacy of Steel's homepages to just all over the place on the internet. And so you can't miss it. And I think the games have also facilitated it more and more. So if you look at like current WoW, if you look at live, I just think it's made it easier for this to be something where you have to min-max to actually sort of be a standard player. But maybe I'm not articulating that right. Maybe I'm just wrong.
Mathematically, the spell power bonus that the priest Atiesh provided to the rest of the other party members was a larger overall gain in raid DPS than him using a new staff himself. So nobody gave him any fucking gear for the entirety of Burning Crusade. And this was in
My guild leader not only min-maxed like everything about equipment, my guild leader kept a spreadsheet of all the gear on the server, so that he could actually facilitate drama within the second and third biggest guilds on the server, so that he could recruit people, so that he could cock block different spawns appropriately because he knew what the other guild's gearing was looking like. And he even min-maxed real life. If our clerics had shitty video cards, he would actually buy them video cards. And you know what I mean? Like it was that kind of thing. So yeah, it was pretty hardcore, even in the early 2000s.
2007. So we were min-maxing this shit at the very beginning. So I think that there's a lot of people, again, this is what I was saying before, is that they didn't know anything about the game. They were fucking garbage. So I was garbage. Like, I remember I thought you needed 2 Warlocks on Curator so you could have Curse of Doom expire whenever he went into vulnerability phase to kill the boss. I joined that guild that didn't give him the other weapons. They didn't even know what I was talking about. So there was a massive amount of people out there who min-maxed back then. It's just that the community was a lot smaller and many people were not part of it back then. There wasn't the internet sharing all the information.
Exactly.
Elitist Jerks was specifically designed on math. Yes. And you get laughed out of the forums unless you brought in data to support your min-max argument. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like everybody in my guild had an account on there. 100%. It goes without saying.
Fill that empty slot after days of progress felt amazing. I bet there were times where you'd stray from the path just to kill random mobs in the world. Not because they were optimal XP, but because it was new and it looked at you funny.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
We haven't even touched on data mining yet, but let's just call this overarching change information pollution. The moment info is leaked or discovered, it's shared in the form of YouTube videos, Twitch live streams, tons of different guide websites, and word of mouth.
Yeah.
This will not go away, and yes, I understand that I'm part of the problem here. Nowadays, there's much more of a financial incentive for people to create websites with in-depth guides on every aspect of an MMO. Achieving world's first max level whilst live streaming on Twitch could potentially kick off a streaming career, and sponsors would happily pay thousands of dollars for a 90-second.
That's true. Sponsors would pay for somebody who got the world first. But those sponsors would still drop him after he stole a staff. So, I mean, shit. You live by the sword, die by the staff.
Ad on a gaming video with a few 100k views. MMO developers need to find a way to make their game.
This guy. This is my old boss's boss. I hired him into Sony. Oh man.
Games with enough complexity that simply watching guides won't.
By the way, they did him a favor with like what happened. It's kind of funny how everything seemed to work out.
Necessarily make you succeed. Compared to older games, modern MMOs typically have a much
Universe
more
Online.
casualized open world and overall experience, to the point where going out and exploring doesn't feel dangerous. Unless you're inside a raid or doing some instanced challenge mode content, monsters in the world are usually trivial.
I think that they were always trivial for the most part. It's just that people were fucking garbage. Like, I rock around in Classic, well, I never worry about anything. I was an elite over there, walk around them. Who gives a fuck them? Fuck them, I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah.
I wish there was a more polite way for me to articulate the fact that his point stands, but I do think that one thing that happens when you become really, really good at games, I've noticed this over the years, is I think people, when they become very good at games, forget that they're in the top percentage bracket of people that play that game. And so I don't, again, like I said before, Asmon would look at, our stuff and be like, this looks like dog shit. And he will describe people that are not, in the higher sort of echelon of game knowledge and, mechanical ability or whatever as, what I forget what he said, fucking garbage or something like that. So, but there's still a whole 90% of a player base or 85% of the player base or 80% of the player base that the game actually is still dangerous when you go running around out there. Now, for some games, that may not be the case, but I like Peon's point on this, where he says, in some of these old games, it was just scary to run around. Oh, there's somebody right there in Asmon's chat that said, not EQ. Yeah, you could legitimately die just running around the world in EQ. And that's something that there are specific game design decisions that are made as part of that facilitated that death. So
yeah, like we were just way fucking better at the game.
Yeah, everybody in chat's like,
that's the thing. We're way better fucking at the game.
UO Online,
simple.
EverQuest, Final Fantasy 11.
Well, I mean, I don't know about every game. But I'm saying
There we
that's
go.
the way it was in WoW. Like in WoW, it's like you back in the day, you thought like, oh, this shit was scary. You come back later in Classic, and it's just like, okay.
No, WoW wasn't. Well, WoW wasn't that
Contrast
scary
this to
relative to
EverQuest
those other
back
games.
in the day,
Okay,
where
sorry, I'm
random
interrupting.
mobs
I'm gonna
roaming
shut
the
up. I'm gonna
world
go
would
back
often
right here.
It's like you back in the day, you thought like, oh, this shit was scary. You come back later in Classic, and it's just like, okay.
Contrast this to EverQuest back in the day, where random mobs roaming the world would often require multiple players to take down. Developer time is often wasted by focusing on brainless target dummies across the world in which killing them makes you feel absolutely nothing. If I attack a humanoid in WoW Classic, it will run away at low health, which not only makes sense realistically, but also makes you think about executing targets, or just simply not pulling monsters inside huge camps. Most games don't even think about simple interactions like that anymore. In the pursuit of accessibility, MMOs have kinda lost their sense of accomplishment, during the leveling anyway. Also, is it me?
Agreed, 100%.
I think that the sense of accomplishment during leveling, let me think about that. So, what game did I feel accomplished whenever I hit max level on? I felt pretty good whenever I got 60 in Lost Ark. Yeah, I felt pretty good about that, but it was more or less like just a box to check off. New World, I didn't really give a shit. Because I had already hit 60 twice before then whenever the game came out. Because I got on beta and the preview. And, yeah, I'm trying to think, like, the last time I really felt good about getting max level. Maybe Classic WoW? Maybe.
Did older MMOs just feel bigger? Larger worlds, longer time to get to max level, more races, professions, dungeons, mob types and quest lines? Have developers put less effort into making their MMOs ambitious due to so many failing over the years, and it being
It's interesting because those things they're very separate, and in my opinion, the creating a sense of scale, having the diversity of classes and races, and that danger in the overworld, all of those things, they don't have to require a massive investment, but they do if you're trying to do all of that at an extremely high level of fidelity.
Considered more risky to make an MMO compared to any other gaming genres from a financial perspective? Games are made as a product nowadays more so than ever. Data analysis are at the forefront with market and consumer.
I think that games are always made as a product. Like all those companies that were making MMORPGs in 2003 were doing it to make money. They were doing it because EverQuest was making money. Ultima Online was making money. This has always been the case.
Consumer behavior studied to max.
I agree, but I would say that the reason why EverQuest and Ultima still have followings today, whereas a lot of those games from 2003 are nowhere to be found, is I think because back then, I moved to California and joined the company just because it was fucking cool. Like, it was just the coolest thing I'd ever witnessed. It was, my mind was blown. We had people that moved to California like it was a pilgrimage. We had people that worked at the company in customer service that slept in tents, like full time, slept in tents in people's backyards because they were just that excited about being a part of the situation. And so, it's a different era, but I don't know that has to be lost, right? Like, you've just got to find people that are passionate about making a specific thing and see what happens. We still see it with games that kind of like shock us. For as much as people might dismiss these things, I honestly feel like when you saw the pivot with, when you saw the pivot that took Fortnite from being like a survival builder game to battle royale or whatever, I don't believe they are expecting their success and then sort of shifting the dynamic in terms of every company wanting to make a battle royale. If you look at something that I think is more relevant, like if you look at Fall Guys, if you look at Valheim, these things still happen pretty regularly.
Maximize player engagement and profit. Most MMOs from 1999 to 2012 used a subscription fee business model with no cash shop.
Yeah.
This incentivized developers to make the game as good as possible, constantly pumping out updates to keep people handing over money every month because they enjoy the game. This was fine until some developers realized they could take a different approach and see much larger profits.
So that's a huge point. I don't think this point could be overstated. This is where a lot of the shift happened. And so subscriptions will come up more. I don't know if it'll come up more right here or it'll come up later or whatever. It's not greed. It's just maximizing value and not necessarily thinking about the implication. And again, I think there's nothing wrong with cash ops and free-to-play games and everything else. If people don't like it, then they won't be there. They won't make money. Some people like that. It's not for us. I believe firmly in subscription for the points that TheLazyPeon just made here. When you've got a subscription-based game, you've got a relationship with your customers that's so different. It's a situation where we want to make the coolest shit possible with the most longevity as possible. And we want to do that because we want you to keep coming back, because your lifetime value is dependent on how basically how many months you pay us, right? So Metal Storm says, I wonder if sub-based MMO will work nowadays. I wonder if people would actually like it more as a fresh start. There are sub-based MMOs that are out there. There are sub-based hybrids, right? Like so sub plus cash op. Sub-based totally works. There are companies out there like, basically companies making games that you've never heard of that are still making, $1 million, $1.5 million, €2 million or dollars a month off of subscription. When people talk about like, I wonder about whether or not sub-based services are valid. All of these tabs that I have up here are from companies that are subscription-based, right? Like more and more companies are moving subscription-based. People are indicating that they'll pay subscriptions, right? So they may not pay a subscription for CNN Plus. It's funny, look at this, like a massive company like CNN was targeting, and I bring these up because like you've got to get a perspective on success. For CNN, they thought getting to the point where they have 2 million subscribers in their first year would be successful, right? And they had like 10,000 subscribers. So when a game that's out there, that's a smaller game, has got 500,000 subscribers, that's 5x what CNN could pull off with their subscription service, right? If you just boil it down to content is content. And if you look at companies in their early years, if you look at Hulu, if you look at Spotify, if you look at Disney Plus, all of that stuff, they had a couple of years where they're ramping to the point where they are now. Now, these companies have 200 million subscribers, but you've also got to look at their total addressable market is massive relative to a game. So if a game's got 200,000 subscribers, that's not bad. This idea that every game's got to get 12 million, 20 million subscribers is just ridiculous. It's just crazyville. And that's where a big part of the problem is.
The free-to-play model, aka create problem to sell solution. For this to be successful, you want to create a low skill floor at the start of the game so players don't quit.
James ATL said, the problem with subscription MMOs now is I pay 3 video streaming services, a sports news site, Xbox Game Pass. Subscribing to a single MMO doesn't make sense to me on my budget anymore. I think that's completely valid if it doesn't make sense to you. But I think there are other people out there that would be like, all right, I can either pay for these 3 different video streaming services, or I can drop one and I can get just as much, if not more, content out of playing an MMO while watching the streaming service on my other monitor, especially if it's a slow-paced game like ours. And that's a personal budget decision that you have to make. But you've already indicated that you're willing to pay like 5 or 6 different streaming services. So then it becomes more of it's a competition for who's providing the most value. We're all competing for your time. Even shit that's not charging you money is competing for your time. If you want to spend 3 hours a day in the evening scrolling through Instagram instead of playing an MMO, that is your prerogative. But there are other people that would be like, screw it, I'd rather pay for an MMO. So does that make sense?
Sub-fee MMOs, players are more likely to persist with difficulty because they've already paid the money and have committed to invest time into that game. Once a player is sufficiently invested into a free-to-play MMO, you can start to introduce the little annoying systems or inconvenience them in some way. Boring dailies, lack of inventory space, have every in-game obtainable outfit look like arse. Cap the amount of dungeon entries you can do, the list goes on and on.
What's that?
Sure fucking does.
You can then on and on. Every in-game obtainable outfit look like arse.
Oh man. Well, that's rough. Goblin, don't get any ideas when you're doing concepts. Zukin, just cut it out. Cut it out.
Cap the amount of dungeon entries you can do, the list goes on and on.
It sure fucking does.
You can then sell them the solution.
Yeah, I got I remember in Black Desert, I got to level 50, and then I looked on the store, and they had, like, this armor set that looked 1,000 times cooler than anything that I had looted, and it was, like, $15, and it gave me 10% more experience, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this. And it was like, I did that a few times, and I was like, this is dumb, I'm not gonna play this anymore.
Nathaniel, thank you for the follow.
This is why games like Lost Ark have such arbitrary leveling experiences. It's simply to create a cheap feeling of investment so that players are more likely to spend money on the cash shop later on. Free-to-play MMOs have put developers against the players by making it financially beneficial to create problems to sell solutions. Where
I will 100% agree with that. Any game that has pay for convenience just incentivized inconvenience, because now they make money whenever the game's inconvenient. That's the worst fucking, yeah, spread the poison and sell the cure. That's what happens. It's what happens in Lost Ark. It's what happens in Tower of Fantasy. It's what's happened in many games. Yeah, Phaons in Lost Ark. Like, why is this in the game? No other game fucking needs this.
I mean,
why do we
there.
need this? It's just wasting people's money.
It's built into the system.
As the old sub-fee MMOs, the developers are
it's almost always designed in. It's part of the design doc. And it's not considered like, I don't know if the teams think of it in this way. I kind of go back and forth. I'm sure that we've been guilty of it in the past on something, but I do see that I have seen where it's basically built into the design doc, and it's not meant as like, oh, we're building an inconvenience. We're building in a motivational driver. I don't know how we rationalize this shit behind the scenes sometimes. I honestly don't. But it's obvious what's going on there. So again, that is why I'm so happy to just make games that are subscription based. And oh, by the way, thank you everybody for the level of engagement, and you're saying a lot of smart stuff. You're saying cool shit. I'm sorry I'm not responding enough, but this is already going longer than I would expect. But I mean, it's a 30-minute video plus my babbling, which would definitely make it an hour. If you say something extremely brilliant and we don't cover it here or whatever, let's just talk about it on the next stream on Thursday, or hit us up in Discord or whatever. Mr. Rex, I may have an answer for you, and if I do have an answer for you, I may pause it and say that in a minute, but back to the video.
Why do we need this? It's just wasting people's money.
As the old sub
Oh, it's an interesting question. Do devs know that submodels are a massive gatekeeper? Gatekeeping, this term that's become, and I'm gonna do something that's bad. It's a generalization, it's a characterization, but there are a lot of like terms that since the advent of since people moved from like Tumblr to Twitter, and Twitter became more and more of a thing that some people give a shit about for some reason. I don't know why. There are a lot of these terms that get used, like gatekeeping, right? And I put it up there with like, that's cringe and that's a bad look, right? It's a bad look. All right. I don't give a shit what I look like, anyways, there's this interesting thing with gatekeeping. Gasoline is a gatekeeper for making your car work. My landlord is a gatekeeper. They gave me the key to go in the apartment. If I stop paying, then they're going to gatekeep my ass out of the apartment. Do devs know that submodels are a massive gatekeeper? They are a barrier to entry, to use the older term for it, for some people. But in exchange for a barrier to entry, and this is sort of a big theme in this video, we're able to provide a better relationship, we believe, with the customer that's then a more honest relationship over time. So Mr. Evil Rex said, when I use gatekeeper, I mean, when I buy WoW, I have to sub to play the game again. Whereas New World, I can just hop back in and do what I want. I do not lose the value that I've already paid into the game. Yes, because that is the service. That's the service. Like if I pay Netflix for a year and watch a bunch of shows and movies, if I cancel Netflix, they don't let me rewatch the shows that I've already watched, if that makes sense. And I invested my time in watching those, just like I would invest my time in my character to progress it. It's inherent to the service. And some games don't do that. And if that's better for some people, I think that's great, that those games are then available for those people.
For MMOs, the developers are incentivized to give players the best game possible to keep them subscribed. For me, this is the biggest reason why MMOs from 1999 to 2012 just felt different. The business...
Mr. Evil Rex said, wouldn't DLC model be best like Destiny, or would that not be enough to fund development? Oh, no. And I'm answering your questions because you're asking questions that I'm interested in addressing right now. So the answer to that depends, I think, on scale, right? DLC, like basically putting a game out and having it either be free or having an initial box sale that then leads to a free game that is then supported through DLC release. It works at a certain scale, but if you don't hit that scale, then it won't be enough. It won't be enough to fund it will not be enough to fund development. So I think the games as a service subscription model makes it easier for smaller teams or medium-sized teams to operate at a much smaller scale, but still be able to cover their operating expenses and grow. And I also realized when I heard the term gatekeeper, I got triggered to use another Twitter term. So hopefully I didn't come off as too much of an asshole to your previous question. But I hear that so much. I hear so many comments about gatekeeping getting into the game and stuff like that. So Metalstorm said, I guess with Netflix versus games, with games you have created something and accumulated something of worth. Netflix, there's nothing like that. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to time investment and ultimately sort of whether folks like it or not. The entertainment in that time that you've invested is basically owned by the company that provides the service. Monty said, oh, hey, Monty, you said hi earlier. I'm sorry I didn't respond. Destiny has a complicated business model. They have a lot of layers to it, not just new expansion. They also have season passes, etc. Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if companies that started with one model have over time switched to Battle Pass or Game Pass and things of that nature.
It's just wasting people's money.
As the old sub-fee MMOs, the developers are incentivized to give players the best game possible to keep them subscribed. For me, this is the biggest reason why MMOs from 1999 to 2012 just felt different. The business model just allowed these games to attempt to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah,
Whilst modern MMO monetization sounds greedy and malicious.
And here's the thing, I'm not going to lie to you on this. This isn't me blowing smoke up your ass. When I was on the EQ team, when we were working on DCUO, you know, I've been on teams where the team just wanted to make the best fucking game possible. That was it. That was it. We had so much pride in being on those teams. We had so much pride, especially those of us that were EQ fans that became the EQ team over time. We had so much love and pride, so much love for that game and so much pride in being able to be a part of making that game and being a part of the community and stuff. We just wanted to make the best game possible. And we knew that if we made the best game possible, we would be rewarded with subscribers, with retention of subscribers, with money. And we got, I've never been better compensated in terms of bonuses and stuff like that than those first years in the industry on EverQuest. And we just wanted to make the coolest game possible. And we were so critical of each other, and there was so much conflict between like the design team and the art team and programmers. Like there was so much like constant conflict to just kind of like push each other and make better, cooler shit. Chronos Zero said, I think that really came through in the EQ interviews. Yeah, if you don't know, check it out. I just linked it. Got like 60 hours worth of interviews with like former EQ folks. Dude, we just wanted to make the coolest fucking game. That was it. Because that's a huge point of pride. Like, that's it, man. And I think so many developers out there really do want to do that. It's just, does the company let them do it? Right? So, you know, or is the company pushing the KPIs? You know, are they trying to, you know, we hear what you're saying, guys, but we've got to focus test this so that we can try to, you know, maximize the KPIs with a certain user segment. And can't you just, we're going to need you to build this system and we're going to need you to move to free to play. Like, no, man. Yeah. So this point that was just made here about back in the day, there was a different vibe. I think that's true. I'm not trying to shit on any people that are working on free to play games or anything else. I've done it as well, but I do think there's probably a lot of people out there that agree with me.
Delicious. It often is, by the way.
Yeah.
When I look out over the next decade, I see more opportunity for our company than I...
To play devil's advocate, it's bloody expensive to make an MMORPG, more so than any other genre of game.
Oh,
Some
absolutely.
MMOs have taken...
And so this is where there's a bit of like, there's some stumbling that happens here, I think, because now we get back to what I mentioned at the very beginning of like watching this, which is in order to make an MMO, you have to spend $200 million. You have to spend $400 million. And what that is that's framing what the content creators believe an MMO is. In order to make the next big thing, in order to make the thing that supplants WoW in the history books, you have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. In the second companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm sorry, yeah, they're not going to take these risks. And they're not going to make, a niche game of any sort. They're not going to, until, I mean, with inflation, I don't know, maybe $200 million is essentially last week's, $2 million. So maybe I'll be a liar in 2 weeks, but for the time being, the second we start thinking that the game that we will consider a true MMO is 50 million, 100 million, 200 million or whatever, then okay, sure. Yeah, then this basically takes us back into the problem space.
7 to 9 years of development time to make and costs close to $200 million.
Because the thing is, you can make a game with over time a couple $1 million that generates hundreds of millions of dollars, right? It's just true. So it's in a lot of companies. I think a lot of companies don't necessarily look at it that way. Investors don't look at it that way. But the companies that do, going back to my earlier ramble about medium-sized companies thinking about it and going, oh shit, you know, I used to work on EQ, or I used to work on WoW, or I used to work at this company. Man, remember when we were making like $6 million a month back in the early 2000s off a relatively, you know, small player base by today's standards? Yeah, $6 million a month's not bad. Let's try to shoot for that. Like, you know what I mean? So let's shoot for half of that. We've got a small company. It wouldn't be bad to make $1 million a month, $2 million a month, right? And that's just taking that 450,000 subs and cutting it in half again. It's feasible. It's feasible. Again, I'm not saying this because I'm going to be like, yeah, we're absolutely going to nail this and we're not going to have any challenges, or we're guaranteed to do that with M&M. We don't know. We've got to make a game. Everybody has to make a game. Whether you're spending 200 million or, you know, 2,000, you've got to make the game. And so our focus is on making the game. But the belief is, if we make the game and we hit what we want, you know, if we achieve what we're trying to achieve, we could see a small game that's, you know, got enough to get us going, to get us all paid, to potentially exceed that, to be profitable, to allow us to reinvest smartly in the business, to grow the team in a smart way, to grow the player base because it's something unique and people are like, oh shit, man, yeah, I gave it a try and this is actually pretty good, right? And because that's how people got into the earlier games. We don't need to spend 20 million on marketing that we've then got to pay back, right? So yeah, it's crazy. We've got to reframe this.
Failed MMOs never made back their development costs in revenue before being shut down. So with many examples of failures over the past few years, there's increased pressure from investors for a company to make back that money as quickly as possible, even if it damages the integrity of the game in the process. Think about it. Why would you invest 50 to 100 mil over 7 years to make an MMO that may or may not be successful, when you could invest less than 1 mil to make a mobile game that will probably see you 10x your investment within 2 years?
I was just about to use it.
But it's interesting because in theory, you can make a smaller MMO or you can make a smaller game that's not mobile and still potentially 10x your investment over the course of 2 years. Metalstorm said it'd be interesting to see a poll of what people would pay for a sub. We've run them in the past, and in running them in the past, most people hit like the $10 or $15 mark. I think 15 because it's just sort of common. For a smaller game, people tend to say they'd rather pay like $9-10. What we're thinking with our subscription is have it be like maybe in the $10 range with a tip jar and with our merch. And so the idea would be you can pay us whatever you want above $10, but it's then like $10, right? So yeah, something along those lines. And then we want to sell the shit out of merch just because we love merch. So
this as an example, actually. That's a really good fucking transition. So yeah, look at Diablo Immortal. Diablo Immortal was like no fucking... there was no real investment of money that Blizzard put into that game compared to how much money they're making out of it.
Correct. Tip. Nothing extra in game. We will not sell anything in game. And then merch is all out of game, right? So nothing in game. If you want to give us a tip, that's great. You're not going to, maybe we'll have like something on the website or whatever, thanking you for it or whatever, put you in the credits. I don't know. Something like that. But we're not going to give you a title. We're not going to give you a hat. We're not going to give you a mount. We're not going to make you glow. Yeah. Above 10 would be too much for a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, it feels like a decent amount, right? No $40 character skins, no Vagrant, no.
Like, look at how much, I mean, I guarantee you it took a lot more fucking effort to make Diablo 3 than Diablo Immortal. But just think about that. Boo.
You guys want half phones?
Unfortunately, as gaming monetization has changed, the risk versus reward just isn't there for MMO investment nowadays like it used to be back when it was the hype genre. So is there any hope? Will we ever see MMOs become the hype bandwagon genre again? Is the fantasy of what's portrayed...
One thing that's really cool though is like throughout this video is to actually see background footage of stuff that I've worked on. That makes me feel nice. Goblin asked, will we ever have a free trial sort of thing? I wonder. We'd have to talk about that one. There's some pros and cons to it. There are definitely, it's that kind of thing winds up being kind of griefable and, but yeah, we'd have to talk about it. There was one more thing that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, Zaba, your other comment about different regions is also important. As we expand our reach, I would say like 90% of our audience, per our current metrics, North American. But as we expand our reach, it is interesting and difficult to sort of balance costs for different countries that just they're not going to pay any. They have to pay a minimal amount. And I've worked on games that were huge in like Poland and Turkey and other places since I've been in Europe, and it's interesting to see what people can and will pay.
Trade in Sword Art Online, Ready Player One, or Overlord a real possibility in the future?
I think that the success of things like Ready Player One, Sword Art Online, Overlord, and like other things that are related to that, I think that it indicates that people like the aesthetic of it. They like the ideal of it. It's just that there's no game that really can create that type of a real-life experience. You see what I'm saying? Like, there are many times where, like a show like that is extremely popular and everybody likes it, but it's just not, like, nobody can create that in real life yet.
Or would those games actually be ruined by pay-to-win in reality? Well, as for the short term, we actually do have a few MMOs in development by massive teams. You've got the Riot MMO, Soulframe by Digital Extremes. As much as New World hasn't lived up to the hype, at the very least, it's improving, adding new content.
So I saw an article that was basically talking about the thing that we've talked about on the stream a lot in the past, which is a job in the future will be acting as an NPC. And I know it sounds pretty dystopian and crazy. Excuse me. But I could picture once people are all jacked into VR in this experience that they keep talking about sort of being the thing in the future that will be the sort of revitalization of that feel that we all had in the early days. I could see where people basically earn the money to pay for their microtransactions in their virtual world through being actors in other contexts. It could wind up being very dystopian. Will you guys have BGMs in game? Yeah, Kimmery. Keep said people act as NPCs now and get paid to do it on NoPixel. See, Keeps. I've just been behind in my current events. I've been saying this for 20 years, and it wasn't even an original thought. I read it in I think a Tad Williams book, Elseworld or something like that. Not even an original thought. Yeah, it's acting. We do want to have that be a potential job at some point in the future of our company. We definitely want to be able to pay people to be badass NPCs. Just like GMs used to run events back in the day. Yeah, Keeps. I was mentioning earlier that you told me about the RP stuff when someone asked. You told me about it, and Atlas and Bunny was telling me about it with GTA 5. It definitely opened my eyes. Grumpy, I'm not sure on whether or not he wrote that. This was a 4-book series that I think I only read the first 2 of. I really need to finish them. Anyways.
Content and still isn't pay to win, and you've also got the possibility of successful entrepreneurs who are passionate about the genre making their own MMOs, as we've seen with Ashes of Creation. Maybe one of those games will absolutely pop off and more studios will jump on the bandwagon to appeal to the new generation of MMO gamers.
I don't really think that we're going to have another game like World of Warcraft, because I think that you need to have an MMO that has a level of immersion that exists in a way that we're probably not even aware of now. Like, I think that there is something that's missing right now from these games to make them truly immersive again. Whether it's VR, some sort of neural link, some sort of other fucking amalgamation between the two, I'm not sure. But I think that you need to have something more.
If that doesn't happen, we're surely going to reach the point with AI and technology that MMOs just become easier and easier to make. Unreal Engine 5 has made significant improvements to the development pipeline of games. There's a worry that AI-generated art is going to ruin the art industry. And computers are still becoming more powerful every year. Perhaps one day in the future we can just tell AI what we want in a game, and it will be able to do hundreds of hours of artwork.
So yeah, what is it, GDP3? Like the crazy chatbots that are out there. I do think, and if the tech, so if tech, like it is GDP3, right? GDP3, GDP4. I think that as those types of chatbots and that type of AI gets better, I would love to, somewhere down the line, if it happens in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I would absolutely, it's on my list of things to do, to have us bring up a server that's just basically all of the NPCs are essentially using GDP, whatever, 7 at the time or something, and see how much of an experience we could create. So, but I do think that it's, there's a good point here with regards to, because I look at AI generation of content of any sort is essentially tool. I do think we'll continue to see these tools improve. And so then it's going to go back down to how do we make something that is compelling for the right niche? And yeah. So we're also asked, don't think there needs to be, or said, think there needs to be AI VR. People still love old stuff like Pantheon. I agree. I think every time that's said here, it's just meant to say the next big thing, not necessarily the next viable thing.
Asset design and coding within a few minutes.
That's smart, I like that.
Vastly reducing the amount of time it takes to actually make an MMO, the costs associated with it, and as a result improving the risk versus reward of such a venture for investors.
I think that's a big factor.
Will do,
It's
Monty.
like having things that are procedurally generated, or to some degree generated more quickly than they can be min-maxed, I think is super important. Because like right now in MMOs, whenever something comes out, it takes a long time, it gets hyper min-maxed, and then that's it. So if you can make content faster than that, then it's good.
I think this is all just
Rip
a
jobs?
matter of time, really. If we got to that point and it became easy to make MMOs, perhaps they would become less pay to win due to there being more competition in the market. But honestly, that's just pure hopium on my part. I'm not sure it's possible to put the monetization genie back in the bottle at this point. So let's just say we do see MMOs become the hype genre again.
Hey, I helped design that
What would those
city.
games look like? Would they be...
I do think that if people had the option to play a game with and without monetization, people would probably choose the game without monetization. I think that also, like, even if they wouldn't choose it at the beginning, they would probably come around to it. Because
Actually, maybe I didn't help design that city. I don't recognize that area. Maybe I just lied. I thought it was Metropolis. If it's Metropolis, yes, but for some reason, unless they expanded it.
as games with monetization, they run their course more quickly. So if you reduce the amount of cost to like enter into the market, then it's easier for somebody to enter into the market without a game that's hyper monetized.
So,
enter into the market, choose the game without monetization. I think that also, like, even
just say we do see MMOs become
So this
the
point's
hype
interesting.
genre again. what would those games look like? Would they be...
I do think that if people had the option to play a game with and without monetization, people would probably choose the game without monetization. I think that also, like, even if they wouldn't choose it at the beginning, they would probably come around to it. Because games with monetization, they run their course more quickly. So if you reduce the amount of cost to, like, enter into the market, then it's easier for somebody to enter into the market without a game that's hyper monetized.
And that's basically what we've been saying. Now, I don't know that he's thinking of these smaller niche MMOs that we've been discussing as the examples. And when he says without monetization, I don't know that explicitly or I don't know that is he's implying subscription based. But let's just assume instead of microtrans, he's saying subscription based. And then he's saying when you reduce the cost of getting into the market, then you don't have to be crazy hyper monetized in order to have enough success to drive forward, right? To be able to then grind and grow. That point that he just made in the last like 10 seconds is very much what we've been talking about for the last 2 years, right?
Drastically different to MMO design of old, or would they go back to a more classic design?
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Will developers ever be able to solve rampant RMT in almost every game? Is it possible to develop a new MMO and have it not be completely ruined by data mining before it's fully released?
Yes.
And what kind of MMO would actually appeal to today's meta-mentality gaming audience? Thick ass thighs. Truthfully, I don't think we know the answer. But it's probably a game that's able to play to the strengths of what made people fall in love with MMOs in the first place. The idea of an alternate reality.
See you, Monty.
A second life where you escape from your...
Yeah, his editing is great. I was just thinking as that was happening, I love when he's like being nostalgic or when he's sort of speaking in a positive manner or whatever. I love seeing that it's so many of these rad old games, right? EQ, EQ2, DC, RuneScape.
Of what made people fall in love with MMOs in the first place. The idea of an alternate reality. A second life where you escape from your day job. A game that can make you feel invested over a long period of time due to overcoming adversity. And a game designed in a way where the developers aren't acting against the interests of the players for profit. I want to see the next big MMO bring back that sense of awe you had when you saw a player on the server with some crazy legendary item that nobody else has.
I think that the reason why it's hard to have that level of awe for me is that I am very good at breaking down processes. And the majority of the processes that you have to go through to obtain items like this are not a test of skill. It is a test of logistics, time, and investment. That's really what it is.
Definitely agree. But I also think this goes back to that sort of, and there's nothing wrong with it, but he's speaking from the point of view of someone that plays games in that manner. And that's not everybody. And so then the question becomes, can there be games out there that are created in a way that they enhance their appeal to the people that don't necessarily want to just deconstruct it and min-max it? So yeah, Nicodemus said, I like that all players are treated equal, no quick leveling, no monetization. I'd rather do subscription and then a little extra for each expansion release. Yeah, there is something about there. It is just you come in, you invest your time. Yeah, there's something that's really cool about that.
A game that brings back social interaction, friction between players, and a good mix of content from casual to ultra hardcore.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day when MMOs were so popular that you'd actually see ads for them on mainstream TV?
That's just like MapleStory.
The free online game where you get to hang out with friends and experience the out of the ordinary.
What the fuck is this?
By the way, what the
Seems
hell
good.
Goblin, I would say statistically speaking, you're actually absolutely correct.
happened with all the badass PvP montages from back in the day?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. They're not financially lucrative to do. You can make a badass PvP montage, spend 100 hours editing it, and it will get 200,000 views. And you can spend 30 minutes talking about a video game, and it will get 100,000 views. It's just simply more efficient for people that, and this is the thing, right? And also you get demonetized for music. That's another big factor. That's what it is.
Why don't people make them anymore? Invest in the players, invest in the world,
Yeah, it's not
invest in
efficient.
social interaction and organic content. If the players can create their own fun, overcome their own challenges, then waiting for the next roller coaster ride to release every 6 months won't feel so draining and repetitive. How do long-term WoW or Final Fantasy players not completely burn out of their games? Guilds, friend circles, roleplay, completionism, raiding, and PvP. Most of which include some sort of social interaction. Allow the players to create their own storylines.
I'm a paladin with 18 charisma and 97 hit points. I can use my Helm of Disintegration and do 1d4 damage as my half-elf mage wields his +5 Holy Avenger.
Paladins can't use the Helm of Disintegration.
Drama between guilds fighting for territory, full-time crafters, gatherers, full-focused raiders, a ruthless PvP gladiator, or maybe I could make a name for myself ERPing in some degenerate player-made dungeon for core.
I think it's a social attraction is what really makes it appealing for people.
Correct.
Ultimately, I guess the question is, will players adapt to a more modern approach to MMOs, or is it old-school design philosophy that will prevail in the end? When will the glory days of MMOs return?
I also think the escapism is an issue. Because, like, now you have, like, streaming and, like, everybody knows who everybody is in real life in the game. And I do think that definitely hurts the escapism of an MMORPG.
Only time will tell.
Well, not everybody. Not everybody.
I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let me know what you think about the future of MMORPGs in the comments below. Smash that like button whilst inhaling an unhealthy dose of hopium for the algorithm gods.
That's about right.
And social media on screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, so, I mean, a few people, yeah. I don't know, man. I really, really enjoyed watching that yesterday. I got the feeling, hopefully, Keith, if you decide you want to edit this one, then hopefully I did a better job of responding to this one than I did to Josh's video. Again, this isn't necessarily my day job, so, but it was very cool being able to hang out this close to Asmongold for an hour, so that's neat. Yeah, so I have all these tabs back here to basically prove a case that I don't think needs to be made, but it's so interesting to see like some of these numbers, right? Like total player counts in millions. 2017, Roblox was at 45 million players. Oh, sorry, I'm completely wrong on this. This is revenue. 2017, it was 45 million, and now they're at what is it? Is that 1.9 billion for the year? That had to be more than that. Is it really only 1.9 billion? Going back down to the player count. Average daily players of Roblox in the last 30 days. 20 million. They have 230 million registered accounts. Doesn't mean anything though. Their monthly active users. I could have sworn they have 22 million players daily. Yeah, because I was about to say, I could have sworn they were at like 200 million monthly active users. And if you just look at it, like you go through the various games and services, there's a lot out there. Nybrock, thank you for 3 months. No wonder they don't improve Roblox. They have their money. Do they not really improve it? It seems like it's been improving, and they've got a pretty robust ecosystem of people making content within it. Yeah, so I mean, Roblox has got ridiculous numbers of players. Minecraft's got a ridiculous number of players. Yeah, there's all sorts of. I mean, Genshin Impact doesn't get discussed very much, but they're still making like 150, 200 million a month, maybe 250 million a month, something like that. Selling prints like your background on a store is also a good idea. Yeah, so we definitely want to sell a ton of merch. I actually have an early sample. We were checking out like the print quality of the service that we use for creating merch, and we took one of the class concepts and printed it out. Essentially, sort of postcard stock. Yeah, we want to have a lot of merch, have it be cycling, so some merch is available sometimes, and we're always making new shit. But yeah, so. These screens, if you haven't seen them before, those of you that are new here, I'm going to do a lot of the stuff that I need to do. Check out our website and go to the updates, and you'll see a lot of this. And then join us in Discord. Join our mailing list. And we're over 2,000 now, so that's great. We're 2014 last I checked today. So that's very cool, and that's where we'll be sending out information at some point about being able to hop in and play with us. Let's see. Yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed that video, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I was responding to a react, because I don't really think I react. I think I just sort of respond and talk over somebody else's video, which is kind of cool that they let me do that. Podarian, thank you for the follow. Goblin said we decided we're going to do one cover like this per month, so expect more like this in every monthly update. And he says that after he's done 2 a month for the last couple of months, so that's pretty badass. But yeah, we we do these as inspirational pieces. We do these to kind of help us think through concepts moving forward. We do these because, well, Goblin's willing to do them and they're badass. Novus, thank you very much. Folks, it is now 5:45 on my end. So stream was 3 hours and 37 minutes, so a little bit longer. So I'm going to wrap up now. I'm going to be back with a normal stream on Thursday. Nothing to respond or reply to. Those of you that are saying that the art looks like choose your own adventure vibe, D&D module, things like that. Exactly. That's what we're shooting for. Those of you that aren't familiar with Monsters and Memories, please check out the website. We're really wanting to make something that's not just a niche, social, old school MMO, but something that taps into all of the cool, badass old art and the vibe that we had growing up, like reading choose your own adventure books and playing Dungeons and Dragons and looking at badass album covers. And, try to make this as like nostalgic and, referential and kind of cozy to that part of us that just wants to be a 13-year-old discovering fantasy again. And yeah, I think we're well on our way. Carrot. Oh, choose your own adventure, die to Dracolich, and get the hell out of the dungeon. Or are you carroting something else? Either way, thank you for 3 months. See everybody on Thursday. Yeah, that's it. Cool. Again, appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Hiromu, see you later. Nicodemus, see you later. Vagrant, glad you could hop on as well. Good to meet you. Grumpy, bye-bye. Bye, Novus. Goblin may be streaming in an hour or so. So if you're in our Discord, you'll get notified when he's streaming and when the other folks are streaming. So hop into Discord. John, good to see you. Sethric, good to see you as well. And Sia. Zeba, bye-bye. Dragonlee, bye-bye. Albius, bye-bye. Kimmery, goodbye. Big Matt, later, dude. Keebs, if you're still out there. There you are. Keebs, love you, bud. See you. It's always nice when you pop back in. Kaicho, you're very welcome. Unfiltered, goodbye. You guys are going to keep going. Nathaniel, did I thank you for the follow 43 minutes ago? If not, thank you. All right, I am